Hello and welcome to a very, very wet Silverstone. You join us here for the next round of the GPVWC Super League Championship. And yes, the rain is hammering down here at Silverstone. My name is Ross McIntyre, hopefully being joined by Caitlin Penley in not too long time. Unfortunately, she's having a few technical issues. And we welcome you here to Silverstone, not the Nürburgring Nordschleife, despite what the timing screen is saying at the moment. It is a pleasure to bring you all of the action from this Super League race. And well, out of the 3 championships we've had so far here at Silverstone, it's been dry for starters, and also very, very exciting indeed. Join us just in time for the qualifying session here. Here we can see Hygo Poom just coming through Magnus and Beckers, and that is pretty wet. It must be said, just over 11 minutes left to go. Of course, private qualifying here in GPVWC with Stefan Roll currently sitting with the fastest lap time so far. But of course, the track not yet rubbered in. Of course, the conditions not ideal, so it could be coming and going. But there he is, though, the reigning champion, Stefan Roll, in that Edge Esports car. And that is really wet, isn't it? Wowee. Coming through Luffield now. All the drivers seemingly confident on Inters, and that is, oh my, sliding in 4th gear. I mean, sure. It's not what I do to go fast, but if it's whatever works for you, I suppose. I mean, of course, Stefan Roll is in a pretty good run of form at the moment. Currently only 7th in the championship after not the best start to the season, but coming 4th last time out at the circuit, Gilles Villeneuve. And he'll be looking to maybe put his title defense back on track. 0.5 of a second is the gap he is currently sitting in, and I believe Caitlin may be joining us now. Yes. So hello, Caitlin is now here to take over from me, so you can be saved by having an actually competent commentator.
Aw, Russ, don't be so hard on yourself. Hi guys, Caitlin here, as you can hear. I unfortunately had a little bit of a computer crash while trying to set up for all of this, but I am indeed here and excited for the start of this Super League British Grand Prix. I see it's damp, which is always fun. Silverstone, of course, in Great Britain, which is famous for its slightly damp and drizzly weather. Although actually, if you think back to the previous few years in the main Formula One race, it's been bright and sunny due to the time of year that it's held, and the fact that Britain actually isn't quite as dank and drizzly as people make it out to be all of the time. But anyway, Stefan Roth currently leading the session, followed by Yannick Bock and Tomasz Włoch. And I'm sure you've already said this, Ross. Have you said this actually? How there is one specific driver that we've got to be looking out for today, who is driving his very last race in GPVWC?
I haven't mentioned it actually, but I well, feel like I should be. Yeah, it's the last race. So, you know, I feel like you're probably the more appropriate person to take this one, to be honest, because, you know, you've been around more than me. But yeah, we're bidding goodbye. I think it's safe to say bidding goodbye to a bit of a GPVWC legend, unfortunately, today in his last event. So, yeah, I feel like it's more appropriate for you to do it, to be honest.
All right. Well, David Fydock has been one of the main veterans of the sport for such a long time. He's a two-time champion in GPVWC, and he's sporting a special livery there with Epic Racing Team to say thank you for his time in GPVWC. He has decided to hang up his helmet after this round. He's decided it's not worth sticking to the end of the season, and to be honest, with the issues that he's been suffering from this year with his computer crashing every now and again, usually halfway through races, he's decided that now is a good time to step away from sim racing rather than later. He wants to spend some more time with his family. David, of course, has 2 children, I believe, and also a wife, and well, sim racing has been a good hobby of his. He says that it's time to make it draw to a close. So David Fydock will be driving in his very last GPVWC Superleague race today, and I hope that he goes out on a high note if his computer will let him, of course, because he very much deserves it. A very nice guy to speak to, and a very nice looking car there to take him to the end of his career. Thank you, Fydock. Hashtag thank you, Fydock is on the halo, and very fittingly, Ross.
Yeah, absolutely. David has been a mainstay of GPVWC, as you said, for some years now, and it's going to be a real shame to see him go, and of course we wish him all the best with his future endeavours, and if he fancies coming back, maybe for the odd race, I'm sure he'd be more than welcome, and of course I'm sure his family watching along, either along the live stream or in the room with him, and I'm sure they're enjoying this moment just as much as we are. Leon Bock, though, 2 purple sectors. That is a massive, massive lap so far as he comes to the line through Club Corner. What's the time gonna... Wow.
Nicely done.
Wow.
That's 9/10 of a second faster than Stefan Roth so far. Daniel Stepkowski
as well.
is
Wow.
also improving here. Now, I've seen that a couple of drivers further back down the field went out on slick tyres, so we'll have to keep an eye on how they go. Look at this lap. Oh, it's actually another fastest lap there. So Stepkowski goes to pole, provisional pole, and there's a whole slew of fastest lap times coming in now. Thomas Harvey goes 5th. So it's Stepkowski, Wok, and Bock. And Yannick Bock, who just a few seconds ago was leading by 9/10 of a second, is now down to 3rd. Stavros Mercedes is also about to improve. He goes 6th, so also jumps well up the order. The track is a lot drier than it was at the start of the session. I'm interested in the drivers who are on slicks right now. Pascal Pullens, who you're looking at, isn't. But Hygo Poom, Eros Masculi, and Alessandro Quinte are all out there on slick tyres right now. Actually, Germano Zappala was, but he has returned to the pits. Stefan Roll now has a fastest first sector, so the driver who was fastest overall for a long time and then dropped down the field to 10th place now is looking to get himself back into the action. Here he is coming up towards Cox, which is a corner that I would not like to go through in the wet, but he makes it stick, and he's got about half a lap to go now, Russ.
Yeah, rain's definitely eased off, and you can see a big dry line forming, but you step just outside of that. Could be Curtis for your lap. That was really brave. Through Maggots Becker to Chapel there onto the hanger straight. Stefan Rolt up in the middle sector as well. So yeah, you can see the track rapidly improving as we get late into this qualifying session. Stowe, oh, big slide on the rear end on the way in and runs out very wide as well. Maybe track limits there. All four wheels were over the white line, but he stuck to the curb, and sometimes through Stowe you are allowed to do that. I'm not sure what the procedure is for track limits at Stowe this weekend, this Thursday evening rather. Coming to the line, Stefan Rolt surely goes back to pole position. Yes, he does. Another 6/10 gap. Rolt, it would seem, is absolutely on it at the moment in Silverstone.
Amazing stuff. He is absolutely flying out here, and there he is, a little bit of a lag spike, but we are okay. As for the drivers on slicks, a couple of them have now gone back to wet, so I think it might be a little too damp out there. No, it's not, sorry. Thomas Woch has just exited the pit. He is on slicks now too.
Oh, here we go.
So Thomas Woch, one of the first top guys to gamble for slicks, and this is going to be one of the most important laps of the qualifying session. This could all come down to who crosses the start-finish line last, because they will get the driest track. But actually, look, I just saw some more raindrops. So has it stopped raining and then started again, potentially? That is a possibility, in which case that would give Stefan Rohr pole position. But let's not speak too soon. There is still some time to go in this session. More drivers switching to slicks now. Shepard's on slicks. Fydock's on slicks. Daniel Brewer is on slicks, but he is still in the pits, apparently. We've got 25 cars in the session now, so while there were 23 just a few seconds ago, 2 more have joined, and that is good to see. We're getting closer and closer to a full grid size. Thomas Vogt weaving from side to side to try to warm up those tyres. I think he's just got to get to the line as fast as he can, just in case the rain picks up again. Also, he might be getting some more water on his tyres from going offline. RFX2 does simulate that. Through the final corner he comes, and he's about to start a flying lap on slick tyres, the first from a driver within the top 10 in this session.
Yeah, this could be a crucial lap, because we may be seeing, if he starts setting purple sectors, a whole host of drivers coming through the first 3 corners. This is the first real test of the slicks into this slow infield section. Bit of a slide on the damp stuff. Manages to get it pulled in for the loop. A lot of understeer on that 47 machine. You can tell, oh, look at him struggling to get the power down. Out of the loop, just weaving in 4th and 5th gear as he floors it down the Wellington straight now. And he's almost 4/10 down in the first sector. On his personal best, another slide as well. It might have been too early for Thomas Vogt. It was a worthy gamble, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to see. Coming through Copse, Maggots and Beckett's as well. Coming out of Luffield, this stretch of racetrack, arguably the best in the world. On qualifying in the dry, absolutely flat out through Copse corner, has to lift and down to 6th. On those soft tyres, bringing it round now. Here we go. This will go past in a flash. Turn in left. Maggots, keep it pinned for Beckett's. Now it's a little bit damp. We'll probably want to go down to 5th through here. And then Chappell should be in 4th. And doesn't manage to take it in 4th. But
they're all on slicks now.
They're all on slicks.
Yes, well, there are still a few stragglers trying to make it back to the pits. I don't think it's dry enough,
Caitlin. I really don't. I mean, look at Thomas's time. He's massively down. I don't think it's dry enough for slicks.
And he's backed off, and he's got to go for it again. He's got to go for it, because this could come down to whoever is the last driver across the line. He's backed it down to a complete stop, it seems, but surely he's got to go for it again. Maybe he's just waiting to the very end of the session, so that he goes and crosses the line last. That would be very tactical driving, although his tyres are surely getting cold as he's stopped there. The top driver who hasn't gone to slicks is Augustin Canapino, so look out for him on the inters as well, because if it's still too wet, and look at the rain coming down, I think it's just picked up a bit. That looked wetter than it was before, potentially. It looked like more rain anyway. Canapino, if he can improve his lap, because it is still drier than it was last time someone set a flying lap on inters, then he could potentially have a good opportunity here to jump up the order. There's Fydock going 15th. I'm afraid that is not where he will want to start his last race from, but he's got to go again. Stefan Roll, fastest of anyone in the first sector on the slick tyres. He is on ultra softs out there, or at least the soft tyres, sorry. And going very quickly, bit of a twitch, but he's got to stick with it. Everyone who is out there right now has to stick with the lap they're on, no matter what happens. Thomas Vogt has indeed started another lap. He was stopped for almost 50 seconds there on the approach to the final chicane, so I think he was just waiting for the very end of the session, hoping that it kept drying out, but I think it may actually be getting slightly wetter, judging by the weather there. Let's take a look at what Ralt's second, and it's faster again. It's faster again, and quite a lot faster. And the fastest first sector has now been taken by Leon Buck. This is a dash for pole between everyone who is out there on slicks right now, especially the drivers in the top 10 on slicks. Stefan coming towards the Vale and Club chicane.
He seems really slow coming through here. Ralt hasn't taken a race victory so far this year. He'd love to get on pole position. Comes to the line now. It's a 135.3 to be. Doesn't go faster. It's a 134.8, but it was slow in the final sector. Leon Bock only slightly up through sector 1. And if it's coming down harder, he may have missed the window of opportunity on the slick tyres. Down the hanger straight. This is absolutely crucial, and he's up again, ever so slightly up on Ralt's time, but it seems damp, it seems slow in the final sector coming through the Vale chicane where there's no downforce. It's all about mechanical grip. It is right on the crossover period. There is Yannick Bock. He's up on a personal best lap.
Mercedes goes second. Willett goes second, sorry. So they're continuing to fall. The times are Canapino goes third on the Inters, Thomas Bock fifth, Yannick Bock fifth, Leon Bock goes pole. Leon Bock takes pole by 4/10 of a second. Fantastic stuff. Pascal Pollins is improving. Pascal Pollins might go pole here. Stepkowski goes second, but what about Pascal Pollins? I think he might be about to do it. He's in the final sector. 17th currently. P3, so Pollins misses out. And Stepkowski did go second, so it's Bock, Stepkowski, Pollins. Who else is out there on a lap right now? I think that might be it. I think that's it, sorry. My goodness, what a finish to that qualifying session. The top 5 on slicks, 6th to 8th were on Inters, and then almost the whole of the rest of the field also on slicks. Fantastic stuff in qualifying at Silverstone.
Wow, that was sheer class from Leon Bock, really showing his worth as a driver. Stefan Ralt, that's got to hurt after a mega lap, and it gets pit by 3 drivers. It is Bock that will take pole position here in Super League at Silverstone. Daniel Stepkowski in P2 with Pascal Pollins. Amazing in the HRT car, goes to P3. Stefan Ralt in P4 with Munich, your championship leader, in P5. Jamalo Zapala managed to get up to P6 with Canapino in 7th. Mercedes is in P8. He's on a really hot run of form in sim racing in general. Let's see what he can do today with Yannick Bock in P9. Chris Shepherd rounding out the top 10. Moving further down the grid, it's Vlach in P11 with Giordano Valeriano in P12. Good qualifying for him as well. Fydock in his final race will start from 13th. Eros Masculi in 14th. Jan Dragoon will start P15 with Shimon Frelich in 16th. Thomas Harvey 17th. Robin Pansar in 18th. Jason Muscat in 19th. And Alessandro Quinte in P20. P21 is Hargo Poom. Michi Hoyer is P22. And then David Young, Daniel Brewer and Renko Dejo not setting laps. Burst Esport really not with a great qualifying session there, especially for a team of their caliber. They'll be looking to come forward in the race. But wow, an end to the session we've just seen there, Caitlin. And if the conditions are like that, who knows what's going to happen in the race?
Yes, now of course the question is, what tyres is everyone going to start on? It all depends on what happens during the warm-up with the weather and how wet the track still is by the time they go off for their formation lap. Of course, if they get it wrong on the formation lap, they can still come into the pits and start on a different set of tyres, but they will have to start from the pit lane if they do that. Often we see that happening in the wet, and those drivers can rocket through the field because then, of course, they're on the right set of tyres, whereas some drivers who stayed out may be on the wrong set. I love it when the track is changeable, where it's lightly drizzling like this, but the track isn't dampening or drying. It really is a toss-up because you don't know what way it's going to go, and we're going to find out in about 10 minutes time now, because we've got a warm-up session where the cars are heading out. Here we are once again on board with David Fydock. I've been looking up his statistics actually. David has competed in the second most Super League races of anyone in Super League history, so he is absolutely a veteran of the sport, and he scored the most separate points finishes of everyone as well, so he's been in the points on the most different occasions. Hasn't always been the fastest driver out there, hasn't always been a championship contender, but he has been on some occasions, and he's made the most of those occasions when they've arisen. Of course, that's why he is a 2-time champion in GPVWC Super League. plenty of wins, 10 wins in total, 47 podiums. That's the second most of all time there, 8th most fastest laps. So the records and the achievements keep on piling up the more you look at David Fydock's history in GPVWC Super League, and it's not over yet, of course, because there is one more race. I was getting excited for him in that qualifying session, actually, because when he crossed the line to complete his final flying lap, he was actually 4th. The trouble was, that was at the time in the session where everyone was coming through, and the times were absolutely tumbling, so he dropped, and I'm afraid he will be starting 12th at best, it seems. But even so, he gave it a good go, and he was right up there. It's just that the weather and the timings weren't quite on his side, and some people timed it just a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Mionette goes round.
Good save, good save.
Yeah, good save with the half spin, but that shows what's going to happen if you get it ever so slightly wrong. As you said, Kaylin, changeable conditions. It seems that the track is bang on that changeover right now between slicks and intermediates. So it really is crucial what tyres these guys on. And I usually say, you know, the warm-up session is a bit of a throwaway session in sim racing. You know, it's just kind of make sure everything's working. This is crucial. This is trying to find out, you know, what tyres you're going to start the race on. You'll be on the phone to your engineer, maybe having a chat with your teammate as well, going, what do we do? What's going on here? The tyre you start on can make or break your race. And again, on board with Mionette as well, the entire way around the lap, Simi was getting a bit sideways. Yeah, championship leader pushing it to the ragged edge. And as he comes into Luffield, he's going to take a bit too much curb. No, it seems pretty tidy through there, to be fair. Yeah, it all seemed pretty tidy through there, to be fair, but wasn't exactly running incredibly quickly. And back on board live this time. And yeah, this is a crucial session for these drivers. So it's going to be really interesting to see what tyres everyone is starting on. It's really tough to tell what the conditions are like off there. And you can see there's that dry line forming, but offline, it's like an ice rink. And, you know, the rain was really hammering down earlier where I live. And, you know, it may well be doing the same in-game as well. Of course, we do use live-ish weather here in GPVWC. Of course, our factor 2, you're able to use radar-accurate weather to real life as Stepkowski goes off the track. But we don't use live weather. We use the weather from a few hours ago when the race is set. So what the weather was like at the time the game time is at, if that makes sense. So it's you know, it could be wide open. All the drivers out there on slicks, which makes sense. You just want to be testing it and making the final call. But again, you know, as you say, Kaden could be diving in on that formation lap. It's really tough to tell. We'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen as we look to get well underway here for I believe this is round 7 of the championship, unless I'm mistaken.
It's round 8 now.
Round 8. Oh, I can't even do maths as Zapala gets all sorts of out of shape in the final corner. Yeah, round 8 of the championship. This is the halfway point of the season, actually. So there you go. I don't know why I thought it was round 7. I do apologise. But yeah, this is a crucial race. And one driver I've got my eye on absolutely is the reigning champion, Stefan Rolt, who hasn't taken a race win this year so far, but was looking phenomenal in that qualifying. Unfortunately, just seems he got caught out by the weather at the end, went a little bit too early, and then just couldn't quite get the car nailed through that final section. He's currently running P24, yet to set a lap. He'll be looking to make a point to maybe kickstart his championship defence. And, well, I think he'll be one trying to go forward in this race. But with conditions like this, at a track like Silverstone, where it's always unpredictable, where it's such a tricky, such a fast physical circuit, anything can happen. We could have an absolutely phenomenal race in our hands here, Caitlin. Of course, going to touch on wood and try not commentators curse this, but there's an air of unpredictability, there's an air of tension around which I haven't felt in a sim race for a long time as Thomas Harvey jumps back to the pits. You are allowed to do that, of course, in this session. It's the only session of the GPVWC evening where you are allowed to hit the escape back to the pits button and then head back out onto track. In any other session, if you hit the escape button, it teleports you back to the pits and then you are retired. You are out of that session. That's you done. Especially if you're in the race, that's it. So that's yeah, important. We've seen a few drivers out there on the inters now, but you know, it seems to be the slicks in this session currently a bit faster. maybe on race fuel as well, as the car's a little bit heavier, so you get a bit more pushed into the ground through the corners. So there's more traction, there's more rubber in contact with the road. So that could be that early in the race, slicks might be more preferential, but if the weather stays as it is, it could be that as we go on, Inter's maybe as someone off the road, into the gravel, maybe into the wall in the background. Wasn't quite sure who that was, but I'm sure that hasn't done them any favours.
That was pretty spectacular, wasn't it? Anyway, the thing I love about this race, and the thing I'm so excited for, is that because that weather struck when it did, and because the grid, because there were so many changes towards the end of the qualifying session, the grid is probably a little muddled right now, and some drivers are probably up there because of timing rather than outright pace. In the race, timing, whoopsie daisy, there goes Stavros Musadis into the wall. In the race, the timing matters a little less because, of course, it's longer and everyone's out there at the same time doing pretty much the same thing. And so the grid should work its way back to a more standard order. But of course, the drivers who may have been a little screwed over by the whole thing have got plenty of other drivers in front of them to actually work their way through. The top 3 drivers on the grid for this race have never won a Super League race before, so it is a very rookie orientated, I suppose you could say, although none of them are technically rookies, but it's a very relatively inexperienced front few cars of the grid. And then of course you have your Stefan Roll starting from 4th, of course reigning champion. Maciej Winnick is starting from 5th, he's the championship leader. You've got other drivers behind who have won races and who've raced in GPVWC for many years. And I'm expecting a really exciting race as the order sorts itself out. In terms of the championship, the drivers you've got to look out for, Maciej Winnick comes into this round leading the championship by Winnick has 3 wins to his name, Buck has 1 win to his name, but Yannick has been slightly more consistent and has more podiums. Thomas Harvey, will be 3rd in the championship coming into this round. He's been on the podium 3 times so far this year, but is yet to score his first win. Leon Buck is 4th, and he starts on pole today, so look out for him, aiming for his first GPVWC first GPVWC win outright. Thank you, Yousuf, for showing us the drivers we're talking about. That is very good of you. Daniel Brewer is 5th in the championship. He won the Bahrain Grand Prix. 6th is Matthias Moos. 7th is Adam Maguire, although he is not here today as far as I know. 8th is Stefan Roll. 9th is Jeffrey Fournier, and 10th is Tomasz Vok. So those are the championship standings. The only other winner of this championship so far has been Liam Duval, who is also not here today. He won the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix right back at the start of the season. We're at the halfway round of the championship, so after this round has finished, we will be exactly halfway through the series, and it will show us who's got to improve and who's in the driving seat for the remainder of the year. Bit of a twitch there for David Yun. It's still pretty tricky out there on slick tyres. Everyone, or most drivers, are out there on slick tyres now, just testing how the circuit feels. This warm-up session's so much more important than it would be on a normal day. And as you can see, it's still right on the buffer between intermediate weather and slick weather.
Yeah, absolutely. The first lap is going to perhaps be more crucial than most because you don't want to be running offline. You want to be finding a position and sticking to that position. It's going to be chaos, I think, unfortunately, because, these weathers, your car performance, it goes out the window. They say that rain is the great equalizer, as we see, that's coming back across the crack a little bit there. But they say that rain is the great equalizer in motorsport, but real great equalizer is when it's changeable conditions on that limit between inters and slicks, because everything goes out the window. Strategy goes out the window. The car performance setup goes out the window. At that point, it's all about what the driver can do. And we've been seeing in this warm-up session, checkered flag now waving, a few drivers making a lot of mistakes. Even just running slightly offline can just spit you out. And you can see there some of the drivers running on intermediates. Sapala managed to go P3 on the inters. And on the inters, you know, you can run that risk of going on the curbs, running offline, hitting some white lines. On the slicks, it may be faster on that dry line, which we're seeing developing. But if you run slightly wide, it's over. You're finished. And there's going to be so much more unforgiving as well. You know, it's just going to spit you out in a corner if you take too much speed in. Luckily here at Silverstone, a lot of runoff. It is, of course, quite a wide circuit. And being an old airfield, unlike most classic tracks, it's actually quite a forgiving circuit. As no, don't worry, the game isn't glitching. We're just jumping into the race session now. So here we go then, crunch time, as we wait for the drivers to come out to the grid, and we'll be seeing what tyres they're starting on. Please let us know in the comments of the YouTube channel chat if you know any inside information, because I think it's more crucial than ever that we know what's going on strategy-wise. Caitlin, of course, always keeps a keen eye on the YouTube chat. And of course, if you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe to the stream. It really does help out everybody here at GPVWC. And if you want to find out more, if you're a new fan here, maybe you want to get involved, then head over to the GPVWC website. You can find out all the information you want there, and then through there you can also find the link to our Discord server where basically everything happens. It's all done through the GPV Discord. So come along, join the fun. We don't bite. And even if you want to just come hang out as a fan, you're also very, very welcome. But now it's time for round 8 for the big boys. It's the Super League. And boy, oh boy, this is setting up to be a phenomenal race as we get onto the grid.
Indeed. Right, Yousuf, I don't normally ask this, but if you could put up the grid order as soon as possible, even before they start. There we go, because we have something to get onto after we've seen this. So here we go. Here is the starting order for this race. All 25 cars heading away on the formation lap. Is it not showing? We don't see it just yet, but it should be coming up any second now.
Obviously, shout out to Yousuf for coming in and streaming tonight, of course, by the way.
Indeed. Okay, well, since I'm sure you can all read, I suppose we'll leave you to look through the starting order, because we are actually going to speak to David Fydock. He has given us permission to drag him into the commentary booth, which I can't seem to do just yet because my Discord is refusing to scroll up.
Do it. Hang on. Come on. You know, I'm going to drag him into that one, and we're going to drag him into here. Joined in by David Fydock. David, can you hear us on your final formation lap?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. David, 10 years, an entire decade of GPVWC action is about to come to an end for you. How are you feeling about it, and are you excited?
More nervous to get in a good performance for the team to say thank you, but yeah, this is going to be a tricky one. Race of survival by the looks of it.
Indeed it is. A fantastic way to see you off. This is going to really show up your skills. Beautiful livery you've got on your car today. Who designed that?
Stefan. Lee got Stefan together and made this. It's nice. It's got my stats on the side, and bottom of the side pod, it's got all the teams I race for in Super League. So an awesome touch by Lee. He's been sending other things to me today in the team chat, which has got me really emotional, but I'll save the tears for after.
Beautiful stuff. Out of the 10 years you've been with us, what's the one thing that will stick with you the most about GPVWC?
I expected a question like this, but most of the day I was thinking about the races I had, but honestly, I've got to say the people. On and off track, you know, it doesn't matter what situation you got on in life, like, everyone's there to support you.
Indeed. Well, we're going to drag you back down to the Epic Racing Team channel now, but best of luck, and please do speak to us again after the race. Good luck.
I will do, thank you.
That was David Fydock, and
let's go down there as quick as we can.
Yeah,
there we go.
And important to know as we come on full off on the grid, Caden, top 5 all on soft tyres, 6, 7, 8 on intermediates.
Oh, that's great to see. We're going to have such a good race here and such an entertaining start. Leon and Stepkowski both pointed towards the racing line now. Look for the light, and when they go out, we'll be underway for 52 laps of racing here at Silverstone. But what a massive part to play tyres are going to have. Ignore the fact they've all just switched. That sometimes happens. They will sort themselves out. The 5 red lights are out and we are underway, and Leon Book will get the drive with the drier line into turn 1. Leon leads, and immediately through into second comes Pascal Pollens. Winnick comes through as well. Stepkowski down to 4th, so he loses some time and loses some positions. A little bit of a yellow flag at the back. Hopefully everyone has got through okay, but there may have been a slight collision. Now you see the tyres correcting themselves, so it looks as if we didn't have 3 drivers on Inters as it seemed. Instead, it may just have been Germano Zapala there and Remco de Jeu closer to the back of the field. And Fydock appears to be out already. No! Well, according to the timing screen he is. So David Fydock may have just had his internet screen freeze or whatever he's been having, the issue that he's been having all the way through the season, and immediately as soon as we finish speaking to him, he has dropped out of the race, and David Fydock's GPVWC career has ended before this final race has even started. That gives off tragic David Coulthard vibes, I'm afraid to say. Leon Bock leads, followed by Pascal Pollens, Maciej Winnick, Daniel Stepkowski, and the top driver on Inters is Augustin Canapino. So it looks like there were more drivers on Inters than it seemed a couple of corners ago. But Ross, before the first lap is even over, a career has just been ended.
What a shame there for David Fydock. I'm sure that's going to be gutting. Hopefully we can speak to him a little bit later and, you know, just pass on our condolences. But that is a massive shame. Focusing back, though, as we come to the end of the first lap, Stefan Rolt in P6. Canapino has got past on those intermediate tyres. And pretty obviously, we see with Zaidis as well on the Inters making moves. Obviously, it seemed that the drier line, those drivers on the right-hand side of the grid, the racing line got away so much better as Leon Bock leads the way on lap 1. Actually, a relatively cleaner lap 1 than I was expecting. I think they were just taking a little bit cautiously out there. As you can see, though, rain is still coming down, and coming down pretty hard by the looks of things. So it may well be in this 52-lap race that we may be seeing drivers switching this way and that way on the rubber. Stefan Rolt looks to the inside, but on those wet or on that wet line rubber, those slicks aren't going to be much use compared to the intermediates of Canapino. But look on the dry line, he's so much faster coming through Luffield. No overtaking opportunities through Copse, especially on the slicks, but he's going to have a look at it anyway. Oh, this is brave. Stefan, don't be silly. Yet backs out. That was the sensible move to do there. We'll just have to follow through Magnus Beckett's again on the dry line. Seems to be that the slicks are faster. And yeah, you can see they're coming through Magnets and Beckett's. And yeah, Canapino losing a lot of time on that dry line, but it's when you're getting out, you make a little mistake, you run a bit wide, that those intermediates are going to pay their dividends. They'll be a lot more forgiving if you can make them last. Stefan Rolt then, dry line looking a lot wider. He's pulling to the inside, he's going for the move. So is Yannick Bock in the background. And that is Rolt through. That is Bock through as well, I believe. Side by side. No, rather. Bock still trying to make the move work. Zapala on the inside on the Inters. Bock on the outside on the slicks. Coming into the Vale chicane. No contact between the pair of them. Bock will have the inside into club. Bock will get the position as his brother Leon sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:35.9. Seems to be that slicks were the way to go so far as we head on to lap 3, and it's Leon Bock leading the way. He's already got a second's advantage over Pollens.
Great stuff. They are definitely the tyres to be on right now, so Leon pulling away. I have a very good, exciting announcement now. David Fydock is back in the race. David Fydock on my screen is a lap down. There he is. He's exited the pit lane. David Fydock looks to be trying to finish his final GPVWC Super League race at all costs. He is a lap down. He's going to struggle to score points today unless there is humongous attrition. But that fantastic stuff to see David Fydock overcoming his disconnect or screen freeze or whatever it was and returning to the race. Here's a replay of David rounding the Chapel Curve. And what an absolute hero is David Fydock for not giving it up and calling it a day. He is back in the race. Now, back to the front. Here is Tomasz Włoch on the tail of Germano Zapala as they head into Magnus Beckett's Chapel. This is a sequence that is extremely tricky at the best of times. The car tries to move around, and Silverstone's quite a low downforce track, so you often put you often take quite a lot of rear wing out of the setup, making the car move around so much through there. And in the wet, it should be even worse. Thomas lining him up very well. This is a good opportunity. Down into the Vale, decides against it. Some people would have gone for it there, but some people would have lost their front wings. out of out of club corner they come now, and across the start-finish line to start the 5th lap of the race, I believe. Lap 4 out of 52, it says there. The biggest gainer so far appears to be McIntyre there, up 7 positions, as is Dan Brewer, who of course has made a bit of a tradition of starting quite low down and then improving during the race. And the biggest loser, unfortunately, has been David Fydock due to that issue that he suffered. Here is Stefan Ruhl on the back of his teammate Maciej Winnick. Those two have swapped since the start of the race, so Winnick has got ahead of Stefan Ruhl. And these two are two that I expect not to have any team orders. So this is one that could go on throughout the race. The moves going on towards the back end of the top 10 as well. I saw a couple of changes of position. There's Frelick up into the top 10 now, ahead of Germano Zapala. And Szymon Frelick doing a good job so far. A bit of a yellow flag out there somewhere as well. Is this Szymon Frelick's first race in Super League this year? Because I know he's been doing Super Light.
Maybe actually. You know, I don't remember seeing him around.
This is his second. He actually finished 13th at the Portuguese Grand Prix, but this is only his second of the season, and Canapino has just been passed by Tomasz Włoch. So again, an example of the fact that slick tyres are now the tyres to be on. Canapino stays out, but I wouldn't be surprised if the intermediate tyre runners come in way earlier than they would otherwise have done.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to be seeing as Musculi as well to the outside of Mercedes, but goes too deep. Oh, and holding up the field, and there was actually contact between the teammates there, I believe. Musculi and, yeah, I think the two teammates touched, and they're side by side, and Valeriano moves through Musculi. Oh, and they're still banging wheels. Come on, boys, let's not crash into each other. And, oh, the pack all getting bunched up behind. This is surely going to end in tears. 4 and 5 cars separated by absolutely nothing. Wheel to wheel on board with Thomas Harvey through the loop. Has to secede the position to Jason Muscat. But oh, that was a bit tense, wasn't it, coming through there? And that just shows what can happen on the slick tyres. If you get shoved out, if you go too deep, you lose all momentum the second you touch the damp part of the track. Yes, on the dry line, the slicks are the tyres to be on, it would seem. But they're so unforgiving. Once you touch the water, that is it. It's like being on an ice rink. There is no grip at all. And but before that kicked off, what I was going to say is Brewer potentially lining up a move coming into Cops. That'd be very brave if he's thinking about it. No, decides to stay behind. What we could be seeing potentially is some of the intermediate drivers actually just weaving down the straights, trying to cool their tyres down in the water, in the standing water, because, you know, at this rate, they're going to be overheating them soon enough.
Dan Brewer's got to work on his qualifying pace. Here goes Szymon Frelick, makes up a place. Canapino losing 2 in the space of 1 straight, because through as well goes Chris Shepherd now. But yeah, Dan Brewer's got to work on his qualifying performances. He's clearly extremely good. Canapino pitting now on those inters, and he just hasn't been able to show the performance that he clearly has inside of him. Here is Stefan Ruhl. Canapino, the first of the slick runners to dive in. I'm afraid we've lost Jan Dragoon from this race, so our first real retirement now has been Jan Dragoon for Green Stripes. Green Stripes not having a good year so far. Jan Dragoon. Me and Ross know from the world of Assetto Corsa, got his first point at the Monaco Grand Prix, but usually fails to score, and unfortunately this time will fail to finish. Now, through the and Hoyer, Michi Hoyer going for a move on, is that Zapala? Yep, so Hoyer getting up into P10 now, ahead of Germano Zapala. Hoyer up about 11 places from his starting position.
A great start.
It's been a very good start for Michi Hoyer here.
Yeah, absolutely. Michi, again, unfortunately hasn't had the best of luck this year. I think the Burst team has just been struggling in general. Just haven't quite had the pace you'd expect from a team of their standing. But Michi moving up the field and into the top 10. So a great performance from him in just 6 laps. Long way left to go in this 52-lap race. So he could be on for a really good result here if he continues this pace. Meanwhile, looking further back, and we're seeing this battle. Well, I'm saying battle for P10, but this is more like the battle for, well, further back as well. That's Mercedes, so he's holding up a lot of drivers behind him. Harvey, Muscat, Hygo, Pullman, Robin Pansar, and Quinte as well trying to get involved as through goes Harvey. So once again, intermediates as Yannick Bock, fastest lap of the race there. Just not the tyres to be on. I mean, you know, it was tough to tell at the start of the race, but it is very clear that the dry tyre on the dry line is the combination you want to be on. Stavros Mercedes, who has had a brilliant season so far, especially recently, goes further backwards with more moves behind as well. Coming through Abbey. And, you know, drivers running side by side onto the damp stuff. That is some really brave stuff from a lot of the drivers out there. That's Hygo Poom putting in a decent performance so far on that hard compounder tyre. He's trying to make it go a bit longer. Pretty brave to start on the hard compounder tyre in these conditions as well. Obviously with the track temperature low due to the water and just, you know, the pretty miserable conditions we've got out there. Even on a dry line, you want to be on the softer compounds of tyres that you have around, as he looks to pull off a brilliant move around the outside, but no, gets on the wet and loses a place in the process to Robin Pansar. But yeah, starting on the hard tyres, quite a brave move. And David Junt on the softs will surely be showing why you want to be on the softs when it is still a little bit greasy out there with rain still falling. Has to back off through Copse though. Meanwhile, up the front, Leon Bock, he's got 1.5 seconds on Pollens. He's had a brilliant start and managed to get into that P2 position. Those front three starting to break away just a little bit, Caitlin. Starting to just assert their dominance. And I'm sure Leon Bock just willing to try and pull a bit of a gap and then just settle down, let the race run its course and just mainly see what the weather's going to do.
Indeed. So Leon is already building a lead. He's about to put a lap on David Fydock. They're still running in that Epic Racing team car. Mercedes there, moving up a couple of places, passing Robin Pansar. Oh no, he's coming into the pits. That's why he suddenly jumped up the order. It's because the pit exit entry, actually cuts the final chicane. So sometimes you will see the drivers jumping up the order before they immediately drop down it again when they come into the pits. Here's Dan Brewer already up into 12th place. That's a couple more positions from where we last saw him. He's on the back of Giordano Valeriano now. And the rain, that looks a bit heavier than it was before, doesn't it? It's there's still a potential for drivers. I don't know if anyone has stuck it out on Inters, but if they have, there's still a potential that they might benefit from it, so long as the Inters haven't been destroyed by these drier conditions. Now, Pollens still under pressure from Stepkowski in third position. They've still got the cars of Munich and Ruhr immediately behind them. Daniel Brewer, P12. Also the other car in there, Aris Masciuli. There is another team out there running a special livery today, actually. If you look at Thomas Harvey just behind, there you go. Thomas Harvey in the Holland Racing Team car, running a livery inspired by the 2006 Vodafone McLaren livery, I'm being told. And that is because it's Thomas's home race today. So he and the other HRT car both running McLaren-esque liveries for Silverstone, which looks very, very nice indeed.
Absolutely, as always.
And a change for second, Stepkowski's just past Pollens, and there they are. So Stepkowski is up to second now, just as he was in qualifying, and Pascal Pollens in the other McLaren-esque Holland Racing Team car has dropped back into third position and is now under heavy pressure from Winnick and Ruhr behind him. This is getting exciting now.
I think Pollens has made a mistake as we get a replay here coming through the loop. No, coming through
a bit late, sorry. I believe this is real time, actually.
Yeah, that's real time, apologies. But yeah, I believe he's made a mistake coming through the loop section because he went from being about a second off of Leon Bock to 2 seconds and at the mercy of that pack. So maybe just missing a braking zone by a metre or two and getting on the wet stuff. And then that's it, and runs wide, really wide, coming out of Chapel and onto the Hanger straight. So Pollens, yeah, that's a shame for him, but I'm sure he'll be able to fight back from Stepkowski. But that again eases pressure on Bock even further. He's now got a 2-second gap back to Stepkowski with some lap traffic and David Fydock in the way as well.
According to Mac is Life on YouTube, Jan Dragoon's mount broke, so it's a hardware failure that has put Jan Dragoon out of the race, and that is why he is our first retirement today, so very unfortunate there for Jan Dragoon. 24 cars remaining now, 23 of them on the lead lap, although, and off the road goes Stefan Roll, over the grass, and through into 5th goes Yannick Bock. Stefan there must have been unsettled by the dirty air kicked up by his teammate, and he's had enough there through one of the fastest corners of the circuit, so that's a difficult place to run off the road and survive. He has done, but he's lost a position in the process. He doesn't have to worry too much about the car behind him. That's David Fydock. He's 2 laps down. But he has now lost a position to Yannick Bock, who's got up to 5th.
Yeah, absolutely. A shame there for Stefan Roll. Of course, the reigning champion taking that title on the last lap of the last race last year.
From Yannick Bock, who's just passed him.
Yeah, from Yannick Bock, yeah. So, I mean, of course, no, real rivalry between the two. Of course, a lot of people, good friends here at GPVWC on the grid, as you find throughout sim racing. But, yeah, it's obviously a heartbreaking moment for Yannick. Absolute elation for Stefan as well. It was a brave move as well, wasn't it? Down into turn 1, the CNRS is at Sao Paulo to take the coveted Super League title for the first time. As he heads through Sturhill, we're looking to work his way back into the top 5. Of course, Roll yet to win a race this season, actually. Just really hasn't got his way, while his teammate, currently in P4, is leading the championship. So Stefan, I mean, I know this is sometimes a thing in sim racing. I know that a lot of drivers actually kind of suffer post-championship burnout the following season.
Yeah.
Due to just, the sheer commitment that it requires to win such a high-level sim racing championship, and the following season they just don't have it in them to do it again. They don't have it in them to just put in the laps and the effort, just hours upon hours of practice and just hard work. They just can't do it after taking that championship. They're just happy to just take results. As Roll to the inside of Yannick Bock. Is he going to do it? No. Bock stays to the outside, coming through Brooklands. And that will leave Roll out to dry. But he will, if he gets a good exit out of here, get a run. And he does get a good exit out of here. And he's going to get it wrong. Oh, Bock, that is aggressive and a half.
So
Slams the door. Coming onto the old style finish straight. Roll looking to the inside and cops, but is too far back to make a move. I think if he's going to have another go, it'll have to be down into Stowe if he gets a really good exit out of Chapel after coming through Max and Beckett's, which we see here. Of course, this is a brilliant stretch of racetrack. Left, right, and then onto the hangar straight. Of course, DRS is open for Stefan Roll. Is also for Yannick Bock. I don't think he's going to be close enough this time by. No, he's not. So he's going to have to do all that work again. But Roll showing he's got pace. McIntyre, meanwhile, up to P9, closing in on Shimon Frelick for P8. He's been having a brilliant race so far. Has Mitchie been carving his way through the pack. He was almost 1.5 seconds faster on the last lap. Oh, but he runs deep at Stowe. Mitchie misses the braking zone, runs deep, manages to keep it pointed in a straight direction, which is impressive, going onto the obviously soaking Astro. But Mitchie, he's lost a lot of time. He's going to have to make all that up now. But so far for Mitchie, it's been a pretty flawless race up to P9.
Indeed, amazing stuff there from McIntyre to keep control. Remember, it is still raining. You can see the drops on the camera lens, especially through Chapel. And as a result, it's very wet offline. The lead gap's come down a little there, hasn't it? It was about 2 seconds a few minutes ago. It's now down to about 1.4 between Leon Bock and Daniel Stepkowski. So Daniel not letting him get away here. Stefan Roll here, P6. Maybe he is suffering from a bit of that post-championship burnout you were talking about. That is a real thing. I've just been looking up the statistics, actually, because, as you know, I'm a massive statistics nerd. And the last driver to win 2 championships in a row here at GPVWC was Lucas Euler back in 2012 and 13. So it's been a while, almost a decade now. And at the current rate, it doesn't appear that Stefan Roll is going to break that streak this year. He's yet to get a podium. And funnily enough, only one driver has ever won 3 championships in a row here at GPWC, and that was Steve Elanchevsky back in 2005, 6, and 7. So it's been even longer since that has been the case, and no one has done it in the wheel-to-wheel racing era. Okay, 40 laps remaining now, and Stepkowski continues to bring the lead gap down. It is now less than a second between the top 2 for the first time since the very first few laps of the race. Stepkowski is right back with him after getting past Pollens. Pollens, meanwhile, is still dropping back, still falling into the clutches of Maciej Młynek now. And there really are 2 trains forming here at the front of the field. You've got the top 2, and then you've got third, 4th, 5th, and 6th, who are in the second little bunch there that you see going through Brooklands as There's been a couple of changes further down the order. A couple of minutes ago, I saw Harvey getting past Masciuli. That was for 13th position, and that appears to have stuck. His next target will be Giordano Valeriano in 12th position. Alessandro Quinte appears to be out of the race now as well. So we've got our second retirement of the day, I'm afraid to say. Alessandro Quinte joins Jan Dragoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Something to note as well on the topic of kind of winning back-to-back championships. I believe all of those which you mentioned, they were all still on R Factor 1. So obviously we've changed sim since then. We've come on to R Factor 2. But yeah, so we haven't on R Factor 2 had a back-to-back champion. Yeah. So yeah, that's just another little thing to note as well. So and well, so far this season, Stefan Roll again seemingly not willing to change that record and be the first driver to do so. On board with Michi Hoyer, he's closed back up to the back of Szymon Frelick. This time keeps it clean through Stoa Stepkowski, fastest lap of the race. He's closing on Bock. Frelick dives into the pits. Stefan Rolt has also come in. So maybe the pit window is starting to open with... Oh, Hoyer nearly loses it! Gets on the curb, coming through Vale and into Club. I don't know if he caught it. Rolt comes back out on the hard compound of tyres. Almost loses it coming out of the pit lane as well. Of course, going to be soaking in the pit lane. And as Michi drops places, let's get a replay of what happened. And no, I think this is still live and looks like he's still in P7. So I think Michi may have caught it once again. So Michi Hoyer, he's driving on the ragged edge, it would seem. Also, apparently doesn't have a halo in this replay for some reason. I don't think you can lose those through crash damage, so probably just the game having a replay moment, I think. No, apparently he just doesn't have one. All right, Michi Hoyer just doesn't have a halo. There you go. That's the first time I've seen that in a sim. But there we go. Michi Hoyer with some superb car control to catch that then, because he seemingly didn't go round. And yeah, he continues, hopefully, his charge forward. He's got a long way to go to Thomas Vac, though. Might be an idea to dive into the pits. If he's pushing hard, those tyres probably won't have long left of them. Meanwhile, Masic Milnek in P3 behind him. Polens dives in. So that promotes Yannick Bock up to P4. Seems the soft tyres, Caitlin, reaching the end of their lifespan.
Was Milnek already ahead of Polens there? Or was I just
I think he might have got through.
Yeah, I may have been looking at the wrong thing. I was kind of distracted by some stats there, briefly. But yeah, I think that when it may have... Yes, he had already got past Polens, actually. I've just seen that on the broadcast. So there you go. Yousuf, don't worry about the replays if you can't get them to work. It is absolutely okay. We'll just have to make sure that we catch everything that we can live as it happens. Dan Brewer is also into the pits on this lap. And one thing to notice there is that no driver is still out there on the medium compound of the intermediate compound of tyre. They all switched off that a little earlier in the race, which is understandable, but the rain is still just about present. I'm not sure if it is right now, but it has been kind of coming and going. Sometimes in the shot up at Chapel, you see a few drops. And there you go, look, so it is still raining, but just obviously not enough to accommodate the intermediate tyres. Here is the battle for the lead. Look, it's got even closer. Stepkowski's got a run, and up the inside of Leon Bock he goes, and Daniel Stepkowski takes the lead at Silverstone. Great stuff. Leon is forced off the line a bit. He loses a bit more mid-corner. They've got some traffic coming up, but for the time being, Daniel Stepkowski, who's yet to take a podium in Super League this year, is on the... I guess you could say the pole position. He's first place in this race.
Yeah, the E-Team Hard driver with a great move up the inside of Stowe. Of course, E-Team Hard, the esports division of Team Hard Racing for any British touring car fans out there. But yeah, that's a really brave move up the inside. You know, it is still damp offline. I mean, the track is kind of generally drying overall, and that racing line is pretty much bone dry now, as you can see. But offline, it's still dark, still damp. So, you know, to stick a wheel in there as Rolt sets the fastest lap of the race on that fresh rubber. It is it's a brave move there by Stepkowski to go to the lead, and he's already pulled a second on Leon Bock. I think Bock might need to come into the pits. Maybe. He's losing a lot of time to Stepkowski now.
Hoyer and Muscat also into the pits on that last lap. One thing to remember is that the strategies these drivers would have planned before the race has been really thrown up in the air here by the weather, because the slightly damp track will mean that the tyres will wear at different rates to how they otherwise would have done. And it also means that you have extra things to consider, extra variables, such as if it's going to rain harder, that's a spin, someone, and that's a lapped car. So that was Remco de Joux, I believe, spinning out of the way of the leaders, although very nearly got in their way. And that's back Winnick right up to Yannick Bock here, so there may be about to be a change for third place. Into the pits comes Leon Bock. So Leon comes in, and that's why you see him leading the race by about 6 seconds there, because as I pointed out before, the pit lane entrance does cut the final chicane, and as a result, you initially gain time from coming into the pits before you lose all of it again. So Leon pits, Stepkowski leads by 5 seconds over Maciej Winnick, and then Yannick Bock, of course, in that fight with Winnick, is running third. That is all temporary, because it's probably going to change again when they come to their pit stop cycles. That's the slide for Yannick, and he was lining up Maciej Winnick very well there, coming out of the loop. I thought he might be about to have a go, but he was actually a bit too close to him and got discouraged and dissettled in his dirty air.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Yannick Bock, just seemingly really struggling. If there's a problem with the car or it's just the tyres have gone, I really don't know. One thing to go back to what you were saying about the strategy as well, one thing to know is, these guys out there, they don't have a team of engineers back at HQ and supercomputers running strategy and listening to other teams' strategies and, coming up with stuff on the fly that suits every fitting moment. He's got a car off the road there in the background with no front wing. Yeah, that's Robin Pansar, Mitchy Hoyer's teammate. Mitchy, I believe, has come in for a hard set of tyres. So, yeah, these guys, they don't have, a team of 100 or so engineers running strategy calculations every second and watching the weather and doing all of that. They've got themselves, maybe a race engineer, and, apart from that, you come up with it prior to the race and then you wing it. That's basically it. So, in changeable conditions, it really is, we don't really know what's going to happen. Let's see what happens. Yannick Bock gets re-promoted to second place after Maciej Milnek comes into the pits. But he's 5.3 seconds back to Stepkowski. And I don't know if he's just making mistakes or he's just struggling. But Yannick, suddenly, in the last few laps, his race has flipped upside down as Milnek comes out on the hard compounded tyres. The championship leader will come out. Looks like he'll be in P6 ahead of Pollens as well. So he's jumped Pollens in the pit lane. And that is pretty good for Milnek. Of course, 3 wins so far this season. The only driver so far this year to take multiple race wins. And of course, all 3 of them in a row as well at Portugal, Azerbaijan and Monaco. But it was a bit of a disappointing one last time out at Canada. Let's see if he can get back onto his winning streak, get back into his winning duck. And, let's see if he can go forward.
Tyres are a real gamble in changeable conditions, because not only are they less grippy than the softer compounded tyres, and so you're more likely to slide off onto the wet bits, but also if the rain starts coming down heavier and you're forced to pit before the end of that tyre cycle, then you might as well have gone for a softer tyre, which would have been faster. So if I was out there right now, I would probably be going either soft, or medium, up until the rain either did start coming down harder or seemed to clear altogether. But anyway, obviously some drivers feeling that it's worth going for the gamble, including Maciej Winnick, Stepkowski and Yannick Bock are now both in the pits on this lap. So that means that Tomasz Bock will probably temporarily take over the lead of the race. And Leon Bock is not too far behind him. He is still the net leader, providing that Tomasz hasn't stopped yet, which he hasn't. So Tomasz leads, Leon goes through to second, Stepkowski not that far behind him, although maybe a little further than he was before this all. It's about the same actually, so I don't think he's lost too much time through that. Stefan Roth right behind him as well. He appears to have gained a bit of time and is now ahead of Maciej Winnick. Those two were the other way around before all of this. So the 2 Edge Esports cars have swapped there, and Yannick has, he was in the middle of the 2 of them, wasn't he? So he's been jumped by Stefan Roll as well.
Yeah, so Roll seemingly coming good in the pit lane, as Yannick currently P6, he's got Milnek in front. So, yeah, strategy seems the undercut's the one to go on at the moment. At Silverstone, the undercut can be pretty strong, but typically it all depends where you come out, because if you're in dirty air, it's the exact opposite. Probably worse here than anywhere else. In these changeable conditions, though, it seems to be boxing earlier currently the strategy to be on. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen as the race goes into its latter phases. But almost 20 laps into this 52-lap event. Of course, the halfway point of the GPVWC Super League season, as Bock runs a bit wide coming through Stowe. Still chasing down Milnek. Meanwhile, it's Thomas Vach leading the race from Leon Bock. And I think he's got past on pace once again. Because Stepkovsky's... Did Bock come in? No, but I think Bock's... No, Bock hasn't come in, has he? Or has...
Yeah, no, Leon stopped. So it's Thomas Bock who hasn't. Leon Bock will be the... Oh, so Leon's jumped Daniel. Sorry, I was completely distracted because Tomasz Bock is, of course, another E-Team hard car. So I was distracted by that. But Leon Bock has jumped Daniel Stepkovsky, which is crucial for this race. My apologies. No, he hasn't jumped him. He got past him a few seconds ago because... No, I'm just looking at the stream and... no, he did jump him in the pits. So Leon Bock has got ahead of Daniel Stepkovsky, and that is big in terms of the race. My apologies for missing that one. Again, I was completely confused by the fact that there is still an E-Team hard car in the lead. It's a different E-Team hard car right now.
Yeah, so E-Team hard, seemingly one driver, while obviously now not in the net lead of the race anymore, but still on the back of Leon Bock, the other one leading the race but yet to stop. So things going quite well, but of course that means Stepkovsky's got to do the work once again. So must have not had the cleanest of exits from the pit lane on his outlap. Leon Bock, though, on that hard combat tires, seemingly found that magic that got him the pole position once again, as he's keeping on pace and closing in on Vach pretty quickly. As a Stepkovsky, though, fastest lap, a 132.018. So Stepkovsky's still a little bit faster, it would seem, at this phase in the race. Both drivers are on the hard compounded tyres, so looking to go long in this second stint. Don't think they'll be able to take it. Oh, is Bock gone?
I think we may have had a disconnection for Leon Bock. Our temporary race leader, or our net race leader, is out. Look at that, DNF. So Leon Bock, through no fault of his own, has disappeared from the server and disappeared from the race. That is absolutely tragic stuff for the driver who was potentially on course for his first GPVWC win today. He is fed up of his brother taking the limelight, winning all the races, when he knows that he can be just as good. But unfortunately today he will not be able to prove it. He hasn't even got to half distance. That's disappointing, very disappointing stuff. Leon Bock out of the race.
Yeah, what a shame for Leon Bock. Of course, a disconnect in sim racing is basically the virtual version of a mechanical failure, just completely out of your hands, and they do happen more often than most people would like. That is a big shame for Leon Bock, and it's not the first time we've been seeing a driver who's been having a brilliant race and suddenly find themselves crashed out on the home screen with a no internet sign in the bottom right hand corner of their monitor. Oh, what a shame for Leon. And that leaves the door wide open for Daniel Stepkovsky as Vach pits. Roll is 1.8 seconds back as Chris Shepherd pulls off a really brave move on Valeriano coming through Stowe. But yeah, Stepkovsky, the race now, out of this phase, I think it's safe to say, is in his hands. But Roll, he's been closing. He's got a lot of pain. Oh, Mitchie Hoyer again sideways. That is a very, very fast car. But it's a car that is right on the ragged edge. And he is drifting more corners than he's taking them in a straight line, it would seem. But wow, it's phenomenal to watch. And Mitchie's been phenomenal this race so far as well. He's been carving his way through the pack. Though following the pit stop, seemingly hitting a little bit of a brick wall. Those hard tyres maybe not turning on quite as fast as he'd have liked them to. But I'm sure he'll be able to find his way through eventually. He's a phenomenal driver and he's got Valeriano in his sights. The German can smell blood as he looks to the inside, but the number 92 unable to make the gap appear. Coming through Brooklands, but he's trying, and Luffield is poking a nose through Luffield. Even when the gap isn't there, he's just filling Valeriano's mirrors, trying to apply that psychological pressure. Gets a huge run down the old start-finish straight, tucks back in front on the way into Copse, and that is McIntyre up tonight with a very tidy move, and that's really cost Valeriano a lot of momentum as well, because Daniel Brewer's going to take it side by side through McIntyre Beckers. What a brave move, what a fantastic move from the number 5 as he goes through to P10 side by side through McIntyre Beckers. That was brilliant.
Great stuff from Daniel Brewer. Fantastic, fantastic move. And he gets up into 10th position now in the VBM Esports cars. This is what I was saying earlier. He's one of the best drivers out there. He really is. He just qualifies poorly. Into the pits now comes Giordano Valeriano, who was clearly struggling a bit on his tyres and overdue a pit stop. Right, we're almost halfway into the race now. There is Yannick Bock, who is on the back of Marcin Winnick, and whose brother has just recently dropped out of a potentially race-winning position. Tomasz Wok has now been into the pits, so Daniel Stepkowski does lead the race again, and Tomasz has come out in 7th place. The worst thing, or one of the worst things about a disconnect, in my opinion, along with the fact that you lose the race, is that that awkward few seconds where you see everyone disappear and you think to yourself, right, are they going to appear again around me? Is this just a temporary thing, or am I going to see that dreaded connection lost notification? And then you see the connection lost notification and you know it's all lost. Here is Jimani Zapata on the back of Stavros Musadis, fighting to be up to P16, which may turn into a point scoring position before too long. They are catching, well, they were catching Valeriano, but Valeriano has pitted, so he will be on fresher tyres now. And a brief yellow out there somewhere, so hopefully everyone is okay. The gap for the lead, 1.5 seconds between Stepkowski and Raw, but Raw is pretty quick at this point in the race and appears to be catching. I don't know quite how fast, but I'll take a look at the lap times quickly. But this is looking good for Stefan now. And of course, Edge Esports have both of their drivers on the podium positions as it stands. Stepkowski and Raw's last laps are about the same actually, but Raw was the fastest of anyone in the 3rd sector. Fastest of anyone in this session, in this race overall. As you see, he's gained just half a tenth of a second. Thomas Harvey now into the pits. That puts Shimon Frelich up into 10th position. And it appears that the majority of drivers out there right now are on medium or hard tyres, with the only soft tyre runners being outside of the top 15. So everyone kind of agreeing on tyres at this point in time. One thing I'm intrigued about in this race actually is the fact that the weather doesn't seem to be getting any better or worse. Usually in R-Factor 2 it comes in showers, and those showers are really heavy, but then they go away and don't come back again for the rest of the race. This has just been a kind of constant drizzle in the background, which hasn't necessitated intermediate tyres. And the fact that some of the drivers have gone into hard tyres, in fact most of the drivers have gone into hard tyres by the look of it, shows that they are very confident that it's not going to get any heavier than it is now. This isn't often how R-Factor 2 acts actually, so I'm very intrigued to see that it's changed. I wonder if that's something to do with one of the recent updates.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, R-Factor 2 is a sim that is constantly evolving. There's always updates being pumped out. There's always different content. I mean, one of the most obvious ones that we're not seeing too much of here today is the new kind of Sparks update. They're looking very, very pretty. You saw some there actually from Stepkowski. But yeah, the tyre model's always being changed. The weather's always being changed. So it's it's still getting a lot of active support from developers. New cars being added in as well. So it's constantly changing, evolving. So it could potentially be that maybe the weather's just been changed as Michi Hoyer to P7 down the inside. Oh, banging wheels with Chris Shepherd, and Chris Shepherd goes, oh no! Shepherd takes out Brewer as he comes off of the curb, and Brewer round facing the wrong way at Luffield.
He's going to struggle to get that back on the road. Look, that is very damp grass out there, and that's a big shame for him. He was doing so well. Meanwhile, Stefan Roth just gained another second on Stepkowski here. He's within a second at the front of the field. Here's Bock and Winnick fighting for 3rd as well. Now I'm about to take a look at the live stream, which is a bit delayed, to see exactly what happened between Shepherd and Brewer. think Shepherd may have got on the curb and spun the wheels up, because he did seem to just come straight across into Daniel Brewer there. I don't think that was Brewer's fault at all, and he was just cleaned up by Chris Shepherd's mistake there. That is a big whoopsie.
Yeah, real strange incident. I think just, slick tyres, wet curb, not a great combination, just unsettled the car a bit. Lost traction at the rear end, flicked around, and unfortunately, we saw there Daniel Brewer was having an opportunistic lunge up the inside after the contact between Brewer and Hoyer. And, well, round he went, and he's dropped down to P11 now. But Michi Hoyer up to P7, continues his charge forwards. Yannick Bock getting a little bit loose, coming through Luffield, following Mionek. It's basically a reverse of well, no, it's not actually. I thought that Liam Bock was still in the race then. Unfortunately, that was yeah. Unfortunately for Liam Bock, he's actually out. That's a real shame. Of course, again, an internet disconnect it would seem for the pole sitter, who have been pretty strong in the early half of this race, as we are now at halfway distance in this event. Yannick Bock will have the DRS down the hanger straight, and you can see there. I don't know about you, but to me, it doesn't look like it's raining anymore. It looks like down the hanger straight, the track is pretty much bone dry now, even offline. So, at the moment, apart from maybe in a few odd places, oh no, it is raining now a little bit. So it's raining ever so slightly, but the track it just looks really dry at this point. At this point, it's basically a dry race to me. I mean, I don't know if you think differently, but to me, this is dry to the end, unless it decides to rain a bit more heavily.
Well, it's still going to be tricky on the curbs and offline, but yeah, the cars are clearing the water faster than it can settle, aren't they? Thomas Harvey there fighting with Dan Brewer, trying to gain advantage from Brewer's misfortune a little while ago. Unfortunately, Germano Zapala is now out of the race as well, so we have 4 retirements from this race now. And but 19 cars still on the lead lap, it seems. Those are the gaps to the cars in front rather than the gaps to the leader. Here's Thomas Harvey now, still with that alternate livery, the very nice chrome and Vodafone orange car. Down the straight they go. DRS is active in this race, so even though it's wet and even though some drivers have been on inters earlier on, clearly the game does not register enough standing water to disable the DRS, and that's good to see, because that keeps the racing spicy, keeps it close, and it means that there's a real repercussion of Stefan Roth being within a second of Daniel Stepkowski now. So keep an eye on that gap. If it comes out to 1 second and they cross the DRS detection zone, then Roth will start losing time to, or losing speed in a straight line to what he has right now. So he's got to keep it in that buffer, keep it behind Daniel Stepkowski until he sees the opportunity to make the move. We're now over halfway through this race now, and the real fight out on track are Stepkowski versus Roth, and then this, Winnick versus Bock, and further back we have some more as well. Frelick versus Poom for 9th appears to be a rather interesting one as well, even though we haven't seen much of it. And here they are, Poom in one of the other special liveried cars today, running that hashtag thank you Fydock livery, chasing down Shimon Frelick, racing in just his 2nd Super League race of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Hygo has been doing a pretty solid job so far, must be said. Currently running P10, of course. Shimon, though, I think is, again, 2nd Super League race this year. Been pretty quality. But, yeah, Hygo just following along in that number 12 car. And, well, not close enough to try for a move yet. But he's actually got a really good run out of Luffield, so maybe if he follows through Cops, and he is very close through Cops, and further back, Thomas Harvey, oh, that's brave up the inside through Cops, oh, has to back out.
It's no surprise that Shimon Frelick is doing well, actually, running within the top 10. Shimon is the current championship leader with Super Lights. He won the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in changeable conditions, so no surprise there, really. And racing for Scuderia Basilia today, has Hygo Poom on his tail for Epic Racing Team. The gap for the lead did temporarily come out to over a second, but it's back down now.
Yeah, Stepkowski's had a fastest lap of the race, so I think he started to respond to the pressure from Rolt. Maybe he was just holding his tyres, drawing Rolt in, and now he's starting to push, maybe to try and extend that gap back out. We'll have to wait and see what happens over the next few laps, I think.
It's worth noting, though, they're so evenly matched that even though Stepkowski set the fastest lap of the race there, or his fastest lap of the race, he still only gained 0.2 of a second to Stefan Rolt in that last lap, actually slightly under 0.2 of a second. So it's not like he's pulling away dramatically, even though he's going as fast as he possibly can. And Rolt's actually gained 0.3 of a second back in the first sector alone, so it hasn't really meant much after all of that. Anyway, Rolt's slightly quicker in the second sector as well, with the DRS active on that straight, and now getting closer and closer to Daniel Stepkowski. He'll probably lose out a little bit in the third sector due to the twisty nature of the final few corners, but still very much there, still in attacking range. Does lose out a tiny bit, and that was actually Stefan Rolt's fastest lap of the race. So they are trading fastest lap times right now, and Daniel Stepkowski, I think, has the fastest lap overall. Yeah, looks like he does actually. 1:31.340. Pretty quick for these conditions. Harvey still not able to get past Dan Brewer for that P11 there. Brewer may have tyres that are slightly worse for wear, but he's still a very good defensive driver. And he is now catching up to the fight between Poom and Frelick. And Poom has passed Frelick, hasn't he?
He has indeed. So Hygo Poom has moved through. A few battles all throughout this pack. I think the one for the lead. Things can get very, very tense as we come to the end of this phase of the race. If there's another pit stop, if not, going to the end of the race, because Stepkowski and Rolt, they're so close, aren't they? Stepkowski is extending the gap, though, currently just a little bit. It's almost a second. Daniel Brewer, though, yeah, catching up to the back of this battle with Poom now in front. But ahead of these guys, it's a long gap to Chris Shepherd, 8 seconds. And Poom's actually managed to... Oh, no, he's made a mistake, and Poom's off the road. Yeah. Poom off the road at Brooklands. And that allows... That definitely allows Frelick through. Harvey unable, or Brewer through rather. Harvey unable to get through. Poom just manages to hold on, but he's got a better run coming out of Brooklands as a result, and he'll sweep through on the inside into Cops. So a mistake there, just running a bit too fast, a bit too much speed into Brooklands. Hygo Poom loses the rear of the car and loses 2 places in 2 corners. And now he's got all that work to do yet again. What a shame for Hygo Poom. And again, just showing, even though it is pretty much dry, it's still a little bit greasy out there. Still very unforgiving, this damp Silverstone circuit, if you're making a mistake. If you go a little bit too late on the brakes, if you're a little bit too fast into a corner, it will spit you out. You know, the downforce can only do so much. As Daniel Brewer moves on through and now sets his eyes on P9 and Shimon Frelick.
Lee Davidson quite rightfully pointing out that this is only Hygo Poom's second Super League race as well. So that fight between he and Shimon Frelick was very much a duel of the rookies, but neither of them really driving like rookies there, despite Poom's little mistake at Brooklands. Very easy to do, especially in these conditions. Brooklands probably the hardest braking zone on the track, actually, because not hardest in terms of brake force, but hardest in terms of difficulty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is actually slightly curved. You've got to start turning as you're still braking. And you see it there, the apex is quite late. And wide goes Shimon Frelick. So through goes Daniel Brewer on the outside of Luffield. A good move. Another really, really mature overtake there from Daniel Brewer to get past Shimon Frelick, who was struggling after a mistake. Here is Yannick Bock in that fight for third position. They're catching a lapped car as well. Let's see if Yannick can gain advantage out of all of that. Through Abbey and Farm, and then down towards Village they go. One of the many fights still continuing on in this race with 20 laps to go. Stepkowski still leading from Rolt, but they're close. Winnick still leading from Buck, but they're close. They're third and fourth, sorry, not leading. Pascal Pollens is fifth, and it's Tomasz Fock, Michi Hoyer, Chris Shepherd, Dan Brewer, and Shimon Frelick. Those are the top 10. Thomas Harvey, Hygo Poom, Eros Masculi, Giordano Valeriano, and Jason Muscat. The remainder of the point-scoring drivers so far. 21 cars remain in this race, 18 of those on the lead lap.
Great to see David Fydock still going around at the back as well. 2 laps down, but he's enjoying his last race, I'm sure, even with that early disconnect.
And actually, let's continue with that rundown, since Craig Patterson has joined into the YouTube chat and said, "What did I miss?" Well, Daniel Stepkowski started second on the grid, but he jumped Leon Buck in the pit stages. Sorry, he overtook him before the pit stages. Leon jumped him back, but then disconnected before they retook the lead. So Daniel Stepkowski now leads, but Stefan Rott and Maciej Winnick are catching him up, and Rott in particular, challenging him hard all over his gearbox, and looking good for an attack at this point in time. Yannick and Maciej are fighting over 3rd position. And you can see the retirements so far at the bottom of your screen there, the most notable of which being Leon Buck. Got a yellow flag, so hopefully no one else about to join them. Oh, they are! Augustin Canapino, who took his best qualifying of the series so far, has joined the retirement list. He is out of the race now. Our 5th DNF, so 20 cars remaining in this race. And we're getting to the stage where you've got to keep going, because there has been a bit of attrition in this race. If you continue on, you do have quite a high chance of scoring points today, so don't give up here.
Yeah, absolutely. As Dan Brewer there with the fastest lap of the race. Yeah, it's a long old race here at Silverstone. I mean, it's a long lap, even though it's fast. And with this rain, it's yeah, tricky conditions out there, to say the least. And yeah, at this point, I think some of the drivers starting to feel it, as we're not far beyond the halfway point, lap 33 of 52. But yeah, it's at this point, I think a few drivers just starting to struggle. It's, you know, it's a big physical track here at Silverstone. You know, it's tough out there in the changing
from the
conditions.
top 10. So Heigo Poom retires from about 9th position, I think he was running. 10th place last time I looked, actually. And he unfortunately has had a disconnection or something, because he has now become another retirement to the race before Canapino's even dropped to the back of the timing screen. So Heigo there, he was running, where was he running before he DNF'd? Actually 12th, although he had been running as high as 9th. Has disappeared. There's Yannick Buck now right on the tail of Maciej Winnick. This could be a real chance. They've got Backmucker ahead of them, but Winnick did not get the DRS. Yannick takes a look. I think he touched the rear tyre there of Maciej Winnick's car, but Winnick holds his car on the dry line and keeps the position. He's slightly slower through Woodcote, but could get, or through Luffield, but could get a good run towards Woodcote. If he puts the power down, he has done. And Maciej Winnick just about fends off Yannick Buck, despite them being the closest that they were for this entire race so far down the back straight.
Yeah, it's getting close in this battle for P3 currently, and with some lap traffic behind them as well. Pollens is a long way off, looking at over 10 seconds back, 13 or so. And as Yannick Buck closes in, draws the gap down, he dives to the inside and oh no he doesn't, but he certainly has a look. And now Munich is going to be feeling the pressure. They're leading the championship. Currently in P3, Yannick Buck looking for a way through, of course, runner-up in the championship last year after Rolt took it from him on the final lap. And he's trying everything he can to get through. Stepkowski, fastest lap of the race, yes, so Stefan Rolt in that battle for the lead. It's not over yet.
Indeed, Lee Davidson not happy in the YouTube chat, and no surprise, both of his drivers have had disconnects at some point in this race, or something along those lines. And Heigo Poom has become our latest retirement as a result of that. Lee saying we need a stable build, so he's not happy with the current build of the game. Daniel Stepkowski set a new fastest lap that last time around, and he's going very quickly in the first sector again, so he really wants to break the DRS of Stefan Rott now. And I don't blame him at all. He is pushing. Stefan Rott, though, still holding on for dear life. And even when either of these drivers sets their personal best lap of the race, they are immediately beaten again in the next couple of sectors by the other driver. Daniel Brewer now sets the fastest lap of the race. So Brewer flying down in 9th position. And he is the first driver into the 130s, the track getting even quicker than it was before. Yannick slipstreaming. Yannick closer to Winnick. He goes to the inside this time, and it's a bit far back for Stowe. It's a bit far back, and he runs wide and loses that position. He stays in 4th place as the yellows come out again somewhere. Heiko Poom appears to be back in the race now, or at least he's back in the server. He's in the pit, so he could rejoin this race, and he does rejoin the race. He's 3 laps down, but he is back in, I don't know about contention.
He's not got a he's crashed coming out of the pit lane. I don't believe it.
Either that's happened, or he had an incident before disconnecting from the server. Because if that's the case, then I think it would have preserved his car as it was. So maybe he had a disconnect while trying to recover from an accident, or maybe. Sorry, let's cut away from that, because Yannick Bock is once again trying at matching Winnick and so nearly touched him going into Brooklands. He's on the outside of Luffield. He's got to switch back now. They're heading up towards Cops. This isn't an overtaking opportunity unless you get a much better run, which he does not. So another great bit of defensive driving from Winnick. He is braking so late into these corners. Every time I think Bock's got it for sure, but then Winnick brakes later and stays ahead. That driver behind that's a lapped car, but whatever the case, has stayed out of the way. And that was Stavros Musadis there in the Green Stripes racing car, running in 17th place. Yannick once again to the inside of matching Winnick, and this time it's fully alongside the Edge Esports car, and they're still going to be side by side up towards the Vale, and they touch, and they stay within the lines, and Winnick goes off and through. So through goes Yannick Bock into 3rd place in this race, and matching Winnick, he defended, but eventually it had to come to an end. Great driving from Yannick Bock.
That was sim racing at its absolute finest. 2 drivers at the absolute top of their game with nothing to separate them. Brilliant move from Bock there, but Muyenek, a superb defensive performance there, is now dropped to about a second back as a result of that mistake, but I'm sure that he'll be trying to close that gap back down. He does have the DRS. Those two were very, very similar on pace. Now Muyenek can go on the attack. Of course, he's not under threat from the car behind. It is a lap car, although they are allowed to undertake as Dan Brewer, the fastest lap of the race, a 1:30.806. So Munich we're trying to close that gap by time, but that was a brilliant fight that we just saw there for P3 as Bock eventually finds his way through. But that was fantastic stuff, wasn't it? Here we are seeing the man who has just set the fastest lap, Dan Brewer, in a little bit of a no man's land at the moment. You can see Chris Shepherd there just ahead on his way through Brooklyn, so it's a little bit of a way back is the number 5 car. But he's absolutely flying at the moment, isn't he? Setting fastest lap after fastest lap. And yeah, Brewer, once again, as always, one of the strongest drivers on the grid, coming from a perhaps not the best qualifying position. But he's putting on a damn good performance, that's to be sure. Another driver I think has been superb so far. I've been saying it over and over again. Michi Hoyer up to P7. 15 places gained for himself and Brewer. Those two have been phenomenal so far tonight. Lap 38.52. Still a long way to go. Now Yannick Bock. Whoa! That was 6/10 faster.
Yannick was faster in every single sector of the lap there. He is he's free from matching Winnick now, and has clean air in front of him, and he's going to attempt to reel in the top 2. And at that pace, he's going to actually catch them before the end of the race, although I'm not sure that pace is going to be able to stand. But yes, extremely fast sector times there from Yannick Bock, who absolutely flies around the course and easily sets a new fastest lap in the race. Despite that, Daniel Brewer's last 3 or 4 laps have been personal bests. Of course, the 2 before this were fastest laps of the race, of course, prior to Yannick's lap, but Brewer is still flying, as are most of the other drivers in the top 10, so the track quicker than it has been. And the rain or the drizzle icon has disappeared from race view now, so I think that the rain has stopped for real this time. And it's not just drying, it is, well, it's probably as dry as it's not that far off completely dry, is it? The times we're seeing now are almost quali pace, aren't they? This is great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see visually no rain either. Yeah, Yannick Bock is absolutely flying at the moment. And these laps probably going to be looking a little bit faster than some of the quali times come the end of the race because of the rain. that we saw in qualifying, and, you know, the risks that a lot of drivers took on the slicks. So the track, this is the fastest it's probably been all evening. And Yannick Bock is just in the element right now, isn't he? Just flying along. A little bit wide through the loop at turn 3. And then coming through turn 4 there on your right-hand side, if you ever get the chance to go to Silverstone, it is the best grandstand, just as a fan's heads up there. Silverstone 6, I believe it's called, heading through. And yeah, you can see as well that Yannick is now confident enough to take that inside curb coming through Brooklands, which really is a show of just how dry it is now. If you were clipping that in a wet, you'd be taking a very quick trip to the wall on the outside, I suspect. So this is now full pace, full attack, fully dry for the number 15 driver, the vice champion from last year. It's a long way to go to catch up to Rolton Stepkowski in front. Stepkowski has extended the gap a little bit further, but Rolt's still sticking with him. But those two, yeah, they've got a bit of an advantage over Bock with the pace that he is currently displaying. He'll be catching and they'll be aware. They'll have the air engineers in their ears going, Yannick's coming. He's looking very, very fast at the moment. And if they can't respond, it may well be batter down the hatches, save your tyres, run them as long as you can if you need to. Box again coming to the end of the race. Lap 40 of 52 we go on to now. 12 laps remaining. And Yannick Bock is the fastest driver around on circuit. But Daniel Stepkowski at the moment seemingly has the race in the palm of his hand.
When have you been in the Silverstone 6, Ross? It's always closed.
It was always open when I went to well, it's now GT World Challenge Europe, but it was Blancpain at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I used to go to that for ages. I used to go to watch the Formula Renault, and it was always open for them.
Oh, yes. Last time I was in the Silverstone 6 was Formula Renault to 2015.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So apparently it's closed nowadays, but if you ever go to a GT World Challenge Europe event, at Silverstone, if they still go there, I can't remember if they do off the top of my head. Silverstone 6 is your grandstand because you can see all the first section and you can see the back end of Maggots and Beckett's, and also you can just about see Stowe as well, which is it's a brilliant piece of grandstand.
Yeah, it's great stuff. It's great.
Yeah,
stuff.
Ignore us fan boy and girling over a grandstand here. That's the depth we've sunk to as motorsports fans. But focusing
3/10 of a second off Stepkowski in the first sector this time, so we're launching another attack. The middle sectors are virtually identical. Down the hanger straight they go, little wide there from Stepkowski. Rock with a better line through Stowe, uses all of the curb and more on the exit, and once again gaining on Stepkowski. But we've seen this a couple of times so far in the race, and he hasn't actually been able to do anything with it. It's like being able to pick up a sword, but not being able to actually jab. I don't know if that was a good analogy, but anyway. Still about 0.2 of a second taken off Stepkowski as a whole on that lap. And let's see how close he is down the Wellington straight this time. He's close. He's
saying 0.5 of a second on our timing screen, so
yeah, DRS will be open.
Yeah, not going to be close enough for an attack, but closing in forever further, and with a good run down the hanger straight coming out of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Maybe moving to Stowe, but we'll have to wait and see. Following down the old start finish straight now, Dan Brewer with the fastest lap of 30.1. So Dan Brewer, he's been working there for a long time, finally gets it. So yeah, battle of the fastest laps between himself and Bock continues now at advantage Brewer.
Yes, and Brewer just set the fastest lap of the race, so Brewer once again pushing. Talking of fastest, Stefan Ruhl, fastest of anyone in the first sector. He's been very good there the last few laps. Took another 0.3 off Stepkowski. This is a chance. He dives from a long way back. He's up the inside, and Stefan Ruhl, and they touch, and they both go wide. Stefan Ruhl takes the lead of the race, but they did touch. Now, does he give it back, or does he feel that was fair? I think that may have been fair, actually. I'll have to look back at the replay. It was close. He may leave it up to the stewards if indeed it is reported, but Stefan Ruhl has taken the lead away from Daniel Stepkowski now, and I'm going to have a look back on that at the on the live stream. Actually, he had such a run. Stepkowski must have had a bad run out of Chapel somehow. Must have got onto the grass or something. Ruhl had the advantage of and he gives the place back. Stepkowski retakes the lead, so Ruhl feels that he fouled Daniel Stepkowski. And looking back at the replay, I think that's the fairest thing to do, because he did. I mean, Stepkowski was turning in, but I mean, Royal was also coming out a little. I'm not sure that if I was Royal, I would have felt necessarily that I needed to give that back, but it may have just been safety. He doesn't want to pick up a penalty from this. He's given it back to Daniel Stepkowski, who once again leads the race.
Yeah, it's a great sportsmanship there from Roll. You know, whether it was a clean move or not, if that did go to the stewards, he's decided, you know what, my bad. And that is, you know, something that we see actually strangely often in GPVWC. Obviously, that's not saying that these guys are dirty drivers, not by a long shot, but it just goes to show that, you know, the great sportsmanship on display here.
Yeah.
You know, it really shows, you know, drivers are very open and willing to, you know, admit when they've done something wrong, admit when they've made a mistake. And even when you're fighting for the lead of the race with 10 laps to go, that is brilliant from Stefan Roll, letting him back through. Stepkowski into the lead of the race once again. Stefan Roll will now have to build back up and go for another charge through. But yeah, great sportsmanship on display. Further back on board with Thomas Harvey, a big run coming out of left field, but he's going to have to go the long way around through Cops. Isn't obviously able to do that. That's a bit of a one-line corner.
Well, Brewer's past Shepherd.
Yeah, Harvey's got a lot of pace. He's a lot faster than Shimon Frelick at the moment. I mean, look at him. He's getting so much drive off the corners in comparison. I think Shimon may be struggling with those tyres. I think he was one of the first to come onto the hard tyres, if I'm correct. Harvey will have the DRS down into Stowe. There's Chris Shepherd as well now in P9
Brewer.
in the Red Archer VRT car.
So Shepherd must have dropped back quite a long way there. Must have made a mistake or something. He was ahead of Brewer, and look at the gap between them now. So I think Shepherd may have had a little slide or something. Whatever the case, Brewer up 16 positions from his starting place. Hoyer ahead of him up 15. Both of them have been on a real charge through the field. And remember, Brewer had that spin earlier, which also wasn't his fault. Anyway, I think Ryan's being a little harsh on Stefan Rural in the YouTube chat there. He is not a fan of that move, although actually I think it was very much a racing incident between the two of them. One of them came in, the other came out. It's the kind of thing you expect to happen mid-corner. Kicking up the grass a little on the entry to Stowe this time is Stefan Rural. And now that he's given it back to Stepkowski, he's got 9 laps in which to do it again and do it better. But will he be able to is a different matter. Stepkowski will be hanging on to that like his life depends on it, because he has not even finished on a podium in GPVWC Super League, let alone a race win. And look at this, Rural almost lining it up into Village, goes to the outside.
No,
he is a lot faster. A lot faster than Stepkowski right now. Almost got up the inside into the loop. That was amazing stuff there. He's so much faster than Stepkowski, especially in a straight line. Stepkowski going super defensive now. We're all gaining, and not able to challenge into Brooklands. Now, not only has Stepkowski not finished on the podium in Super League, he's actually not finished on the podium at all in GPVWC. He did a round of the Academy Series a little while ago, didn't finish on the podium in that either. So he's doing a fantastic job to be leading this race. It looked as if it may have been a slightly out of position qualifying place, but I think he's showing us up with that one. I think he's proving that he deserves to be where he is right now. Stefan Roth, of course, is one of the best in the business, the reigning champion. And if he can win his first Super League race of the year, then he absolutely will. Yannick Bock behind him is catching fast, actually. Yannick is still one of the fast. And up the inside, that's another move into Stowe. And once again, it doesn't work out for Stefan Roth. So Stepkowski, once again, holds the lead. And only just, and I think Roth's going to have another go on this next lap.
Yeah, he should do. Stepkowski leaving nothing on the table. This is super aggressive but fair driving from the pair of them. And Stefan Roth, reigning champion, closing in. He is so much faster, isn't he? He's going to try and swing to the inside into turn 3, hard on the brakes. And able to make it go. Roll does run, or Stepkowski rather does run wide. So that compromises his entry into the loop, and he's got really, really wide. Almost contact between the pair of them. Roll now in the rear wing, now well within the toe with the DRS. This should be it, surely. Down into Brooklands, drawing alongside on the brakes. Does Stefan Roll go through? No, Stepkowski shuts the door. Brilliant, brilliant stuff from the pair of them at the moment. It's lap 45. There's still a long way to go in this race. And Stefan Roth is trying absolutely everything he can to get through to take his first race victory this year. But Stepkowski, he wants that win as well. Also would be his first one of this year. And he is maintaining that lead for the time being. Next big real overtaking spot is down into Stowe. You need a really good run through Chapel for that. Maggots, Beckett, downshifted to 7th, now 6th, now 5th, maybe 4th if you're feeling lucky. No, keeps it in 5th through Chapel. Stefan Rolt, bang up the gears. It was a good run through Maggots and Beckett to Stepkowski, so it's not going to be down into Stowe this time by. But it's only lap 45 out of 52. Stepkowski still in the lead.
I think Bock's going to catch them by the end of this race, you know. He is catching so fast here, half a second or more every single lap now. He is approaching like a shark in this one. It is a three-way fight for the lead now, or at least will be when Yannick catches up. But Stepkowski and Rolt, and this is another reason why it's so crucial for Rolt to pass Stepkowski, because he is clearly faster at this point in time. Bock sets fastest lap of the race. He's 1.5 seconds faster. He's 1.4 seconds faster on that lap than Stefan Rolt. That's insane. Just 2.5 seconds behind Stefan Rolt now. He is easily going to catch these two by the end of this race. Can he pass them? It is definitely a three-way fight for the lead of this race. Winnick is also a bit faster, but he is plenty too far back. But this fight is allowing Yannick to get right up with them. This is amazing stuff in the latter stages of this GPVWC Super League race. And extremely, extremely tense racing. Stepkowski fast and Rolt in that first sector there. David Yunt now fastest driver on track in the first sector, and one of the fastest on the lap as a whole. He's going very well, and a bit of a threat actually to take away that point for fastest lap once again. We very rarely see a point actually handed out for fastest lap in Super League, because it's usually taken by someone outside of the top 15. Here's Thomas Harvey on the back of Shimon Frelick now. This is another fight that could change hands before the end of this race. There you see the sparks flying as they go down the Wellington Straight. That's one of the main things that the recent update to rFactor 2 added. You can see the sparks a lot more vividly now, and they look a lot more realistic, and I, for one, am all here for it. Another lap started for these two leaders now, and that's the gap, and here's the move. Stefan up the inside, sails straight on. Stepkowski will have the outside line. He's held it there before, and are they going to touch? He's still there. They're still side by side. Remember, Rolt's faster in a straight line. Who has the DRS, actually? It looks as if Stepkowski has the DRS. So he's played that tactically. Rolt on the outside, still not able to get past Stepkowski, despite being on the inside for the loop. And if he can't get past there, I don't know where he can. Amazing. And Bock is in DRS range of Stefan Rolt. It's 3 for the lead.
Unbelievable scenes here with only a handful of laps left to go here at Silverstone. Stepkowski, it's a phenomenal defensive drive, but he's acting like a cork in the bottle. Rolt can't quite get through. It looked like he may have had it there, but it was just too late on the brakes coming into turn 3. And now Yannick Bock, he smells blood, he's closing in, and suddenly this fight for the lead has been blown wide open in the DRS range. That letterbox rear wing open on the Evolution Motorsports car. Here we go. This is where it all kicks off. Stepkowski against Rolt against Bock for the victory. The top 3 drivers separated by less than a second as we come onto lap 48. 5 laps to go here in this race. Oh my goodness me, I have no idea what is going to happen, to be brutally honest with you. Stepkowski, he's clearly the slowest out of the 3 of them, but he's putting up an almighty defensive performance here. Stefan Rolt, he's got some pace on board, but can't make the gap appear. And then you got Yannick Bock, who is absolutely flying, but he's hit the back of this train now. He needs to make the gap appear, or he's going to lose all that momentum that he's got on board the car. And if he stays stuck within the dirty air of Stefan Rolt for long, we're chewing through those tyres, and that pace will be gone.
To Pascal Pollins quickly before we forget about him. He's still running in 5th position, doing a very good job in that Holland Racing Team car, being very anonymous, but simply because we haven't even had a reason to look at him for a very long time. Dan Brewer sets the fastest lap of the race once again. It's been banded back and forth between a few drivers in this race, with Brewer being one of them, and he's the first driver into the 129s, which is insanely quick for a track that was wet at the very start of this race. The top 3 now separated by less than a second into Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel. Their cars are going to be handling awfully through here, and Rolt losing time mid Beckett's. That might cost him going onto the straight. Bok is not close enough for an opportunity. Look at that. Look at the top two. Here goes Frill up the inside. And this time they touch again. Just as they did a few laps ago. They're both off. And Yannick Bok comes through into second. Yannick Bok is through into second. And Stepkowski has been muscled out to dry. He is down into third from what looked like it might have been his first GPWC win.
Maybe when push comes to shove, it was going to be Stefan Rowe always getting through, and I think Stepkowski now will be seeing him dropping back. I think he just doesn't have the tyres anymore, and now we've got Rowe finally unleashed after laps of being stuck behind Stepkowski, but Yannick Bok is in tow, and yeah, there you go, Stepkowski already a second off of Rowe from the lead. I think that may be his challenge for the win over, unless he's able to stay within the DRS range, but Yannick Bok, this is now his battle for the lead. It's Rolls to lose, but Bok has got so much pace on board that number 15 Evolution car. He's looking this way, he's looking that way, can't find the way through. Roll has finally got through to the lead, and he's now under threat of losing almost immediately. But he's got great drive out of Luffield. Look at that, shooting away from the corner. This could be anybody's race.
And this time I hope Ruel doesn't feel any guilt for what happened there, because I look back at the replay and he was touching the inside curb, so he absolutely had the right to that line. And Stepkowski unfortunately just couldn't hang on to it. Now, the question is, how much time was Ruel actually losing behind Stepkowski? Because he may still have the pace to fend off Yannick, as you see a move up ahead there. That's between drivers who are a lap or two down. Anyway, so he may still have the pace to fend off Yannick, but Yannick, of course, the fastest driver on track, has the fastest lap and is still extremely quick. This is going to be a very exciting finish as Stepkowski hangs on for that lap. He's still within DRS range now, still could salvage something if these two hold each other up too much by fighting here. Hygo Poom has just set the fastest lap of the race. I tell you what though, David Fydock is challenging for it. David Fydock sets the fastest lap. David Fydock, 1:28.455. Oh my goodness, I hope he goes out with fastest lap. He may not get a point for it, and he won't if he finishes where he is, but wouldn't that be a story? Wouldn't that be a way to end his career? And that is David Fydock. Actually, you see two cars up the road from this bunch, so you can just about see him there racing his little heart out as his career comes to an end. There's been a move for 10th place. Thomas Harvey's just passed Shimon Frelich there, and they switched back, so a little fight going on there for 10th and 11th positions, which we've seen a couple of times in this race. And Frelich is in the pits, so that is why they have swapped places a couple of times. Shimon Frelich in the pits very late. I can't imagine that was scheduled. Maybe he was running out of fuel. Realized, no, you can't refuel, can you? That's a dumb thing to say. I don't know what would have happened there, but maybe they collided. Onto the straight again. Even Raw has the DRS this time because they're lapping a car. That's Jason Muscat there going past there in the red Archer Virtual Racing Team car. Hygo Prue might be about to set fastest lap here. Come on, Hygo, please back off. You've got to let your teammate have it. Just this
I think they're doing it for last, to be honest. Both of them, I think, have come in for a set of softs at the end of the race. Obviously, they're in the voice chat in the Discord too, we can see them. So I think they're just trying to trade fastest laps here, just to as Fydock's coming once again for a fresh set of rubber. So yeah, Fydock's going to try and set it on the final lap of the race.
Come on, last lap, David. Come on, you can do it.
Yeah, that'd be a way to send a few career. It's again been a torrid race for David, a disconnect on lap 1, but he was able to get back in time. He was allowed to rejoin the race, and now he's having a bit of fun to wave goodbye to competitive sim racing. Hopefully not for good. You know, we'd love to have him back for the odd occasion, but definitely full-time competitive sim racing as Yannick closing in on the penultimate lap of the race. Rolt holding on. Yannick has seemingly stalled. Now he's got into P2. That pace, that magic pace that he had on board earlier, seemingly failing him. It's either that or Rolt. Now he's got away from the cork in the bottle that was Stepkowski. He's just unleashed what he had left in the tank. Desperate to hold on the reigning champion against the vice champion from last year. Both of these guys desperate to win. And, well, coming through Maggots, Beckett's, and now Chappell. A little bit wide through Chappell from Stefan Roll. But Bok is still too far back, even with the run down the hanger straight, to have the move into Stowe. But he's closing quite quickly. If he manages to hold it through here along with the dirty air, no, he scrubs off too much speed on the front end. I think he's taken quite a bit out of his tyres.
Final lap and the top 3 are separated by a second. This is going to be a finish for the ages here. Does Rolt have enough to hang on? So far it looks like yes, actually, because he just pulled away from Bok a little, coming out of club. But Book may have the pace. He's very, very fast right now. Poom again sets another fastest lap, so that's going to be tricky for David to beat. He's laying down the challenge. David needs to find about a tenth and a half on this final lap of his GPVWC Super League career, and my goodness, I hope he can do it. On to the Wellington Straight. Go the top 2, go the top 3, and they stay in the same order. 1 DRS straight to go. And, and Stefan takes second. A big slide, and he saves it, but he's gone off the road. Yannick Bock loses his last chance of the win, and that looks as if Stefan Roll is now home and dry. He's got 1.5 seconds to Stepkowski. I think that's it, due to a mistake from Yannick Bock, and he will be kicking himself after all that time he spent trying to pull the lead gap back. My goodness. Stefan Roll just has to keep it clean now to score his first win, and in fact first podium of the season, because he's not had a good start to it, but at the halfway point has his luck finally turned. He's outraced his teammate, the championship leader Maciej Munich, completely fairly today. He has been a much better and more solid driver over the course of the day, with no disrespect to Maciej. Through the final couple of corners now comes Stefan Roll, and out to the final turn, he is going to win here at Silverstone. Stefan Roll wins the GPVWC British Grand Prix. Daniel Stepkowski second, scores his first Super League podium. Great stuff for him, even though he couldn't hang on to the win in the end there. Yannick Bock third, despite the mistake. Maciej Munich was fourth there. Pascal Pollens will be fifth. Good drive from him to hang on after his P3 qualifying position. Tomasz Rock will be sixth. And David Fydock sets the fastest second sector of everyone. Let's watch David. This is his final lap of his career. He's being held up a bit. I'm not sure he's going to do fastest lap here, I'm afraid. I don't think he's quite got enough, but if he did, it would be amazing. Out of the final turn, he gets a bit of a slipstream across the line. No, yes, he's done it! David Fydock takes fastest lap on the last. Oh, Shimon might take it off him. Let's not celebrate too soon. Shimon Frelick, P11. Please back off. Please back off. You've got to give it to David. Oh, he can't back off. He's got Eris Masciuli less than a second behind him here. So he's going to push it all the way to the line. It's a quick second sector as well. Not quite as quick as David's, though. He's got 1 sector to go. I can't believe I'm getting so excited over. He's wide! He's wide! And Shimon Frelick, he's still going to finish P11, so I hope he's not too disappointed by me celebrating that mistake there. He's kept his place. And indeed, David Fydock takes fastest lap in his very last Super League appearance by 7 thousandths of a second. Amazing stuff. He's not going to get a point for it, but what a drive, what a hero. Thank you, David Fydock.
There you go. What a way to wrap up a torrid evening and a pretty torrid season. And, a blast from the past from a fantastic career for David Fydock. Hopefully we'll drag him in for an interview at the end. That's a way to cap off what has been a brilliant GPVWC career. Thank you, David Fydock, for all that you have given here in Super League, and we hope to maybe have you back for the odd race in some way in the future. The Simracing bug, it never really goes away, but that is his competitive career full time over and done with. Thank you very much, David Fydock. But it will be reigning champion Stefan Roll after a titanic 3-way battle for the lead, who finally takes his first win of the season with a fantastic drive. Managed to hold off from Yannick Bock. And Stepkowski comes home in P2, Bock in P3 after braking just slightly too late into Brooklands. I don't think I've ever seen a podium fall where P2 and P3 are probably going to be bitterly disappointed. Any one of those three could have won this race. This was a titanic race. It was constantly changing. We had the rain early on, then it was all about what tyres we were on, and then the strategy, and then suddenly, bang, a 3-way fight to the lead, right down to the wire. That had it all.
Amazing stuff. Fantastic finish to the race, both for the lead and for the fastest lap. Not that that matters that much in the grand scheme of things, but what an amazing race that was. It came down to the very last lap for the top 3 in this race. And what a drive from Daniel Stepkowski there as well to claim his first GPVWC podium. My drive for the day there, actually Daniel Brewer. I think he did a fantastic job to climb up the order from his lowly qualifying position. He was a little caught off guard by the rain in quali, but climbed up the field, and despite a spin, he was still able to claim 8th position. But my team of the day is Epic Racing Team, because not often do you see teams allowing both of their drivers to finish after both of them have had respective disconnects. Spirit of the Race Award, if we can coin a phrase from somewhere else, goes to Epic Racing Team as far as I'm concerned. And there are the donuts. That is David Fydock donutting with, I think, David Yunt out there. And both of them, of course, old friends, old rivals from the GPWC, the annals of GPWC history. I almost blame myself a bit for David's downfall, actually, because I joined GPWC Super League just after David Fydock won in Singapore. I won in Singapore in 2017. I joined the community just before the Japanese Grand Prix, and then David never won again. So it may have been something to do with me. I jest, of course, but the commentator's curse does appear to be a real thing sometimes. David into the pits now, and capping off a wonderful career that saw him win 10 races, 2 championships, and the most different points finishes of any driver in GPWC Super League history. Hashtag thank you, Fydock. Rightio, let's move on to the interviews now, and the first driver that we are going to talk to at the end of all of that is our race winner, Stefan Rold. Stefan, what a drive!
Hey, Caitlin. Thank you. It was a hard drive against Daniel.
Absolutely, it was. You were racing so hard with him. You had to fight your way through from 5th on the grid, but you made your way past Daniel towards the end there. A little bit of bumping and banging between the two of you. Do you think it remained respectful?
I think the first time it did feel like I got a hit on the rear wheel, and then I couldn't turn in. But I was not sure what the race directors would say, so I just let him by. If it was not deemed a clean overtake. But the second time, I think I had the run, and my engineer said that the corner was mine, and it was okay to continue.
I agree. You were on the curb. It was a very clean and fair move. Almost allowed you to be passed by Yannick, though. Yannick was really charging towards the end. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, whenever Yannick is still in the race, I ask, where's Yannick and what's the gap?
Yes.
Because he's always on a charge. And I was really afraid that he was going to catch us. So like with 10 laps to go, I started to push Daniel and see if I could pass him, so that I could remain to have that gap still with Yannick. But he was really hard to overtake. I think I had more pace once I got by. It was okay to just stay in front. But all in all, it was a really exciting race, and the strategy, Matteo really helped me out with the strategy to do the undercut and get me into the position for the fight for the lead. So really happy that I got the win this time.
And it's your first one of the season as well, your first podium of the season, let alone victory. What do you think suddenly come good this weekend?
Yeah, it's not been the best of seasons. Some bad luck, some incidents, but I think I did some analysis with my team, and we found some stuff for the race that was hurting me, and I think we're on the right track now. So hopefully more to come.
Well, your points continue to rack up. Every time you finished in the points this season, you've been slightly higher up than you were the last time you finished in the points. Russ, do you have anything to add to our race winner, Stefan Roll?
Just well done, Stefan. I mean, of course, first win of the season. I think it's safe to say it's been a long time coming. That was a real tough battle you had out there with Daniel. So yeah, awesome job and well done, fully deserved.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Okay, I can now say with delight that we can indeed bring in David Fydock. David, you got the fastest lap. Congrats.
Yeah, I was going with something. I wasn't going to let it go.
That was such an exciting finish to the race there, but for you, for a very different reason to those at the top. First of all, what happened at the start there? Was it anything to do with us dragging you back into the room? What happened?
No. Throughout testing, I've not been able to do no more than 5 lap runs without the PC crashing.
God.
with this latest build. I joined the server for practice, and I thought, oh, it might be all right because I did practice in quali without a problem, not even a stutter. But then as soon as the lights went off, I was juttering towards turn 1, so I thought I'd get ready to pull off. And yeah, then it just minimized. Wow, it froze. But then someone told me that when it freezes, if I quickly pull my Ethernet cable out, it'll count as a disconnect and I can join back in. So I quickly did that. Yeah, I was always going to finish this race. It didn't matter what it took.
Fantastic stuff. I'm so glad that you did, because it would have been, I mean, I remember when Jensen Button drove his last race in 2016. Of course, he did come back for 2017. He said he was delighted to retire from the race. As soon as his wheel broke, he was like, right, that's it, I'm done, party time. I'm so glad that you weren't like that, because we wanted to see you finish that race. We were willing you on back here.
Thanks. Yeah, I thought, no, I'm not going to stop with one less corner than David Coulthard did at Brazil. So,
Yes.
yes, yeah, I managed to get to the end.
I said that in the broadcast room as well. Yeah, I'm so glad that you did. David, let's look back at your fantastic career. 10 victories, 2 championships, the most the most different points finishes of any driver in GPWC history, as well as the most points of any driver in GPWC history. You have been an integral part of this championship for, well, 10 years.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know. I don't know if people get as emotionally attached as I do. I broke down when I crossed the line. When you say 10 wins over 10 years, it doesn't sound nothing, but until 2016, I think I was at the front in most of the years before that. 2017 is when it started to fade. Basically, R Factor 2 is what broke my career, really. I could never get a handle on the tyre model and the way the cars needed to be driven to bring out the pace. I've been doing other leagues in the background and other races and still fighting up the front. It's just, for some reason, R Factor 2. But yeah, it's been an awesome career. I can't complain about nothing. Every race I gave it my all. I made sure I crossed the line. I've had some awesome battles with people, some awesome and very intense title battles with people. I could stay here for an hour thanking everyone, but they know who they are. Starting with Nick Rowland, who gave me my debut in Spa 2013, then Dave Carl Smith, who signed me for CSG in 2014, and pre-season he was telling me we're not going to have the car to fight for the title. We haven't got the upgrade points. And then Australia, we turned up and we were a second a lap quicker than anyone, and I had a podium every race of the season. And then from there, the big names were joining. Like I can remember 2013 and 14 fighting Simracing, and we had some decent battles, and I was up with him and Rudy Van Buren and Lewis Redshaw 2014. You know, the list goes on, but the main one to thank, sorry, stop me if you want me to shush, the main one to thank is Will Panisi and Lee Davidson. When my careers were at their weakest, they both gave me the chance to prove myself again. And yeah, with Will, I managed to come back and win a title with him in Nords. And then I feel really bad for Lee because like when I come back, I felt really good with the mod last year, but I only managed to get a podium for him. So I feel like I've broken a promise, but I can't say that I didn't drive every lap, given everything. I just want to thank everyone in the league for the races, the friendships, the team bosses, the teammates, Florian Gaio especially. That guy has been my rock through not just GPV, but back in the OGL days, a couple of leagues I did previously. You know, we were teammates. The good times and bad, he stood by me on and off track.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
David, we know that your career's come to an end as a driver, but will we still see you around in the community?
Not for the first couple of months. I'm going to go away and see what I'm like after the summer break. For now, I've got a couple of people taking over Red Arrow just to see how I feel about things, because I think it'd be quite hard not racing and still being involved. I've always been a person that's been there all the time, so yeah, I'll decide during the summer break and see how we go.
It's very understandable. Okay, thank you so much, David. You are an absolute legend, and I'm proud to have commentated on your career. Russ, do you have anything to add to our double champion, David Fydock?
Well, I think you basically said it all, Caitlin. Obviously, not the way you would have wanted it to end, but you know, fastest lap. That's you know, better than nothing, I suppose. Congratulations, David. Enjoy retirement, enjoy your family. You know, hopefully we'll maybe see you around in the future. Maybe if you ever get a bit bored.
Trust me, I'm bored already. I want to test Austria, so we'll see what happens. Eh?
Absolutely.
All right, well, see you then, David, and congratulations on your career.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks to everyone in the league. Thank you.
So that was the legendary David Fydock, champion of 2014 and 2016, and he will be very much missed in the league. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to everyone we interviewed, and thank you to the drivers for putting on quite a show. I've just had a look at the championship standings as well, because someone, I'm not sure entirely who I need to thank for this, but someone has very quickly jumped onto the standings and updated them. And the championship lead is now just 1 point apart. Yannick Bock has taken the lead ahead of Matching Winnick now. So those two fighting their way into the summer. And Thomas Harvey actually not that far back either, despite his P10 finish today. So great stuff. Stefan Roth moving up into 7th position in the championship now. And we look forward to seeing what the second half of the year will bring about. Thank you very much to Yousuf for your very first camera broadcast today. You did a very good job there. And thank you as well to Ross McIntyre for joining me in the commentary box today. From us, it's good night.